can put into your real estate career, your financial wealth management career, your fundraising career, because cash is only 3% of what we have as a nation. 43% of our wealth is held in real estate. So when all of us can come together and bring our industries together to make money, making a difference, make money from making a difference, make money to make a difference while helping the business community make money, it's just the biggest win-win-win. And, you know, people say that to us all the time. Win-win-win sounds too good to be true to me. And we would say, how bad does something need to be for it to be true? So let's just put down all of our preconceived notions about what we think we know, and let's really open our minds to actually having a win-win-win that helps everyone involved. So I'm going to share my screen and jump on over into our presentation. Charitable gifting of real estate. This is the Masterclass. This is the deep dive. We do have lots of videos that you can participate in sharing with other people that are 20 minutes long or 45 minutes long as a taste, as an appetizer. We kind of look at this class as the main course. This is the buffet. This is the deep dive to really learn how to leverage real estate for real change. And we are the real agents of change, better known as The Rock, as we have become known. Now, this warning is quite serious because you can't unlearn what you're getting ready to learn. And it, honest to God, can be a blessing or a curse. Because when you're sitting in fundraising committee meetings and you're seeing your friends on Facebook with the GoFundMe account to help their local nonprofit, when you're selling those raffle tickets, when you're doing golf tournament after car show, after bake sale and barbecue and ballroom function, when you learn that all those people you're playing with can actually get funded by 6 times what they currently are from the donors they already have, that's a blessing if you share it. But if you don't share it, if you sit on it, if you listen to people talk about how their nonprofit needs funding and you don't tell them, it is a curse. So you've been warned. If you're going to stay with us, then I'm going to assume you are someone who is going to walk your walk, who is going to do what you say you want to do. And everyone that shows up here all tell us that they want to help people. I know if you're here, you are wanting to help people, you are heart-centered, you are visionary. So let's do something about that. Let's take some action. Now, want to just go ahead and start it off with this fabulous story that came out, 2 months or so ago now. Jeff Bezos' ex-wife donated 2 houses, two, that equals $55 million in donations. Now look at these images. Does this look like property that was unable to sell? Does it look like something someone's trying to unload? Does it look like, real estate that's contaminated and out in the middle of nowhere and they can't get rid of it anyway, so they're going to dump it on a nonprofit? No, friends. This is real estate of any kind from anywhere in the country of any size. These kinds, see, I want you to look at her face. Young girl, young woman. She's not 70 years old. She is simply heart-centered and visionary, and she probably needed a good tax deduction. Good for her. That's a good problem to have. So we just want to set the foundation that this is not about property that somebody can't unload, and so they're going to ditch it on some unknowing nonprofit. No, this is charitable gifting of real estate by high net worth and or heart-centered and or tax deduction needed individuals. And we're going to show you how this works today. So this is our book that came out in June. Real estate is hot, fundraising is not. The subtitle is 5 Keys to Revolutionize How Charities and Champions Fund Their Causes, their careers, their companies, and their communities. Notice how in there, it's not just the causes and communities, it's the careers and companies too. How can we make money making a difference? Now, April is List the Legacy Listing Month. And we are putting together right this red hot minute. The slides aren't even in at the end of this presentation yet. The team is still working on them. That's how new this program is, around community foundation collaboration. And we're putting together a 90-day program that starts in the middle of January, leading us right into List the Legacy Listing Month. Friends, this is the year. This is the year for you to have a stake in the secret real estate niche that is already funding nonprofits by $9 billion a year. So in celebration of the book, let's talk about what these 5 keys are. Key number 1 is to learn. Learn what charitable real estate is and what it's not. Congratulations, you're turning that key right now. By being here, by the end of the masterclass, you're going to know. You're going to know what this is. But key number 2 is lead generation. And I say but because it doesn't matter what the tax deductions are. It doesn't matter why you've never heard of it or how realtors get paid a full commission. None of that matters if you don't tell people. Lead generate. So in the book, we get into who to talk to, what to say, how to say it. And we get into that also with our program around champions. Now, key number 3, list and liquidate. You see, these are listings. They're legacy listings. It's a real estate listing, just like any listing any realtor's ever had. Only now, when you liquidate these listings, they leave legacy. So the book gets into how that works. Key number 4, Cami CE Baker. I'm going to add in there Cami CE Leverage Baker. Love, love, love. Talking about how to leverage real estate for real change, how to position, partner, and promote the for-profit and nonprofit world to come together and make money making a difference. Because key number 5 is leaving a legacy. You know, we attract people here that want to be significant. They want to leave a significance. It's not just about success. It's about significance and leaving legacy. And this picture really brings all of that together. This image is a real estate agent who is seasoned, mature, well-connected, heart-centered, visionary, eager, and sees this as the blessing it is. She would not let one day go by without sharing with people this blessing. So the tall lady on the left is the executive director of a nonprofit who said to us, "You mean these donations come from the donors we already have?" And we said, "Yes, ma'am, that's exactly what we mean." So we put this image together for the book, for the newspaper story that was written about us when we did the book launch at her nonprofit. This is what it looks like to be a champion, taking action. So let's talk about what the sections look like today. A little bit of housekeeping. We will do a section and then we will stop and have a Q&A, maybe show a video of a specific case study donation. We will be showing you where you can get all these links so that you can watch all the case studies you want, all the FAQs that you want, all the due diligence that you can stomach. We got all of it for you. So the first section is about the concepts and the collaborators. What the heck is this thing? Why have I never heard of it? Who are the real agents of change? And what are the first 2 of the 3 ways that a property owner can help a nonprofit with a gift of real estate? Now, section number 2, we're going to reveal the 3rd way, the win-win-win way. The reason that you're actually here is to learn about this 3rd way. And we're going to talk in that section about who are all the key stakeholders in a gift of real estate. Section number 3, why is this a win-win-win? what are all the benefits to all these people? See, you're going to learn by the end of the master class today that this is not too good to be true, that it really does benefit everyone involved and then some. So, section number 4, financial advisors and donor advised funds. Look, 65% of these types of gifts are initiated by wealth managers, financial advisors, CPAs, people who have clients that want to be more philanthropic and that need tax deductions. It is important that we all understand what's in it for the other guy. How does this benefit the person I'm talking to? So we're going to touch on what donor advised funds are just a little bit in that section. Section 5, we're going to get into what actually qualifies as a donation of real estate. Spoiler alert, it's any real estate. It can't be a timeshare. There needs to be equity and it needs to be marketable. In other words, you need to be able to sell it. But we're going to give you some specific details. And in section 5, we're going to put up a side-by-side comparison of a $4.5 million property. Here's what it looks like for a traditional sale. Here's what it looks like if it was donated, so that you can see the tax benefits to an individual, because people always want to see that, and it's a brilliant example. And section number 6, we're going to explain to you, what is a charitable real estate specialist? What is a charitable real estate champion? What does it look like to be a part of our program with the Community Foundation Collaboration, which is an initiative of the Real Agents of Change? So this is what we've got in store for you. At the end of each section, there'll be a little bit of a potty break. And also today, at the end of section 1, I have a very special guest that's popping on to give you guys some information. This is a mentor of mine from 10 years ago that helped me build a team of 10,000 people, super successful individual that is going to come on and share some stuff with you that we are doing in a collaboration. So that's very exciting for us. So why are you here? And before I even get into all of this, I'm actually going to stop screen share, and I want to invite 3 people to unmute yourself and tell me, what brings you here? Are you a nonprofit looking to get funded? Are you a real estate agent wanting to be the go-to expert in your community? Are you a fundraiser who wants to add an extra tool to your tool belt? Who's up? Who wants to unmute?
Hey, Kimmy, I will.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, how's it going today?
Great, thank you. What's up, my friend? What brings you here today?
Well, as you know, I had started down this path, which is fairly new with you, several sessions in, and actually went all in. So always appreciated that. Have had some meaningful conversations with folks. Have had the chance to visit several times with Bruce that people will meet. But there's some things that I want to just come back, refresh, and capture. I do real estate, and we live in a fairly affluent area. And it's interesting to see people try to give in different ways, and they don't know that this tool even exists. And I think they've hit that hurdle before, where they've tried to donate to nonprofits, and nonprofits usually have some type of limitation from just taking real estate, and they don't know what to do with it. So I'm back just to kind of sharpen the knife. Let's sharpen the tools and refresh on some things. And I think I still need to take the final exam. And so I'm back here to go all the way through and finish the exam so we can fully affect things. But yeah.
Glad to have you here, Bill. And others will tell you, the more you come, the more you learn. It's good to have you. And you're in an influential neighborhood, and all you have to do is tell people. But we'll get into more of that towards the end. Okay,
Absolutely.
Who else wants to introduce? Yeah, thanks, Bill.
I think we're going to have you come out and do some CE training. I think I can get you qualified out here, 3 regional states just right in my area. So
put
things together and grab some realtors and educate them.
Matter of fact, grab Alan's information as well, because now you have 2 of us that you can reach out to. So Alan, if you could please get in touch with Bill, that'd be great. Frank, do you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'm unmuted. Yeah, my name is Frank Segunis. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I just got certified recently, and I'm pretty excited about just the future about this whole thing, because I'm also I'm a retired financial guy. I had a company like for 40 years that was just giving advice to some executives and some retirement funds. But this has opened up my whole retirement again, I guess, into a fun way to go and a good place to do it. So I'm really excited. I'm also director of a nonprofit rowing club, local, and that's kind of got me started with trying to figure out how to set up an endowment fund for that group for championship travel. And since then, there's been many different nonprofits I've talked to that are kind of queuing up for all this, and some of them are ready to go pretty soon. And it's pretty simple to at least introduce the concept, and then.
Oh, Frank, it looks like you froze up again, Frank. All right, guys, wonderful. Love Frank. Frank has come to the class 4 or 5 times and has now gotten certified. And he's not even a real estate agent or a financial advisor. So sorry, Frank, you froze up for a minute there, my friend. We're just gonna keep going. But thank you for being here. We love your commitment and your enthusiasm. And I'm just gonna start sharing the screen and get back to the presentation. Okay, so really be thinking, like, what does bring you here? Certified Charitable Real Estate Specialist, CCRES. The last thing we all need is another series of letters behind our name on a business card. Please, if you're going to do this, do it. Don't just do it to get certified. Sure, we'll take your $97 to get certified, but let's put this to good use. We want people to see us out with vision in the community, because this strengthens relationships. This is a reason and a way to reach out and create relationships with so many people in your community. It will give you the ability to gain access to high net worth multiple property owners. It raises your profile professionally and personally. We go from real estate agent to realtor to advisor. Real estate advisor for the wealthy, so that they can give smarter and help their community. Earning full commissions for those real estate agents, adding to assets under management. We're going to get into that topic around the financial advisors in section 5. And of course, look, the reason you're here is to fund one or all of these C's that we have listed out, because there's more introductions and there's more commissions and there's more referrals and there's just more of everything when you learn how to tap into the wealth bucket of real estate. So here's what you're going to learn today. Yes, donation of real estate are happening. This isn't, we wonder if it'll happen. This isn't something we just invented. This has been happening for 100 years, my friends. $9 billion a year is already donated. You're going to learn how it's already happening. You're going to learn the 3 ways that a donor can help a nonprofit with real estate. Now, look, there's all kinds of deeper levels of charitable remainder trust and pooled income funds and all that. We're just giving you a bird's eye, big umbrella overview of how this works. Now, you're going to learn why you've never heard of this before, or at least why you've never heard of the 3rd way. The first 2 ways I'm going to talk about here in just a moment, you could kind of guess these, but the 3rd way you don't know about until now, and that's pretty exciting. You're going to learn why donors are trying to give real estate away, who they are and where you find them. And you're going to learn how you can be the hero your community needs and make money making a difference. Whether you are a specialist or a champion, we're just going to assume that if you're willing to invest 3 hours of your life to learn how this works, you want to at least be a specialist and show up on our map, which, by the way, for those of you who are already on the map, it is getting elevated in the next couple of weeks. We have a new company and a new system that will have Google mapping to be able to zero in on the address for where you're at. It's very exciting. And you're also going to learn how, why. This is the biggest, baddest, boldest, badassest social responsibility campaign ever. 87% of your clients in your marketplace are going to choose you over the competition. Now, you're going to have questions. Please have questions. Raise your hand, unmute yourself, put it in the chat, say hello, write them down. Here's the thing, at the end of every section, we're going to open it back up and have the Brady Bunch boxes again so that we can all ask those questions. Now, 94-ish% of the questions that you'll have will be answered in this 3 hours together. But if it's in your mind and it's kind of holding you up from being able to move on to the next thing, ask it and we'll address it in real time. So we have these Q&As at the end of each section. Let's get into section 1. Concepts, collaborators. What is this all about? What are those first 2 ways that a donor can benefit nonprofit from a gift of real estate? So the first way, we always come up with a fictitious story that we can just use as we move on. I'm going to use Frank as an example today. Frank is out in the Washington, Oregon, northwest part of the country, and he's part of a nonprofit. I believe it's a rowing group. And let's just say that Frank, his nonprofit has a donor, and the donor says, hey, I've got a condo in Florida. It's $1 million condo. It's got a $200,000 mortgage. I, the donor, want to get $200,000 in my pocket, but the nonprofit world can have the rest of it. This is my legacy. This is my gift to the world. This is the scenario we will play with today. So, in the first way, the donor is suggested by Frank's nonprofit, hey, good for you that you have a condo in Florida that you want us to benefit from. Why don't you go sell it, Bob? Bob, the donor, Bob, the property owner. Bob, if you'll just go sell it and give us the proceeds, that's what we want you to do. Now, this is what people say more than anything else. Cammie, why wouldn't the donor just go sell the property and give the proceeds? Here's why, my friends. Because that donor is going to pay taxes, capital gains tax, and there's a lot of different variations of taxes in there. Ultimately, Uncle Sam is going to get a piece of this pie one way or another. So the nonprofit receives the least amount of donations. The donor gets the least amount of tax write-offs. This is the most inefficient, worst way for this person who worked so hard to have this condo, and now they want to give it to the nonprofit world. This is the worst way for that to happen. And you'll understand this as we move forward. Now, the second way is if that nonprofit up in the Northeast were to actually take title to the real estate, pay off the $200,000 mortgage, give Bob the donor the $200,000 cash that he wants. So there's $400,000 that's got to come out of their pocket, but it is $1 million appraised condo. So after expenses, they can put about $550,000 into the bank account. Here's the problem with that, my friends. 99.9% of nonprofits can't, don't, won't, and frankly should not do that. It is complicated. It is risky. It takes a nonprofit months and months of board meetings to figure it out. Where's the money going to come from? And who's going to pay the HOA fees? And oh my God, what if a hurricane comes in and devastates that condo? So the second way is if the donor actually donated the real estate directly to the nonprofit that they love. And the fact is 99.9% of the 1.5 million nonprofits will not accept the real estate. And if they do, by the way, this is a book, Real Estate Gift. Hey, Alan, can you please put in the chat therock.com/Jim Wooten. Jim is one of our rock stars. He wrote this book in 2006. This book is all about the second way, the hardest way, where nonprofits are taking title, paying off mortgages, getting really involved, getting their hands dirty with owning real estate. And so this is just the hardest way to do it. Now, we're going to learn why real estate owners are wanting and trying and searching for ways to donate real estate. We're going to learn the reasons that 99.9% of nonprofits turn down real estate, and therefore they're turning down the funding. And we're going to learn how charitable real estate specialists and champions like you, like us, can help all those 99.9% of nonprofits to get funded the way that we do it. So in order to explain this in the most functional way, let's set a couple of foundational blocks. Let's talk about the connection between philanthropy and real estate and the IRS tax code. So here's a couple of definitions that will help us to make this point. Philanthropy is simply the love of mankind and humanity, giving of your time, talent, and treasure to make life better for everyone. The fact that you're here right now tells me you're a philanthropist. So often people will say to me, well, I'm not a philanthropist. I'm no Bill Gates. But friends, the most valuable thing you have is your time, and you're investing that right now. That makes you a philanthropist. 501c3 is an IRS designation that the government gives to qualified organizations to help with services and goods to the public good. 501c3 is a designation that gives the organization the ability to, when they receive something of value, they can give a tax deduction to the person who gave it. So the tax deduction was actually introduced in 1917 for charitable gifts of all kinds, and of course, in our case, specifically real estate. So when these gifts are given to a 501c3, and by the way, my CE course explains the difference between a 501c3, a 506, a 508, which is a church, and a 508 1A is a church, and it is the only exception. It is the only other nonprofit entity that can give a tax deduction as well. So 1917 law incentivized charitable giving from all kinds of taxpayers, from the wealthy to the heart-centered, saying, hey, if you'll give something of value to a 501c3 or a 508 church, you get a tax deduction. So the charitable gifting of real estate is a charitable gift of real estate to the qualified 501c3 that provides the nonprofit an asset it can sell to fund its programs. Now, let me just say, sometimes a gift of real estate is given for the nonprofit to leverage, to live in, to move into, maintain, keep, whether it's a homeless shelter or a place for their admin, etc. We are constantly posting stories in our Facebook group. Alan, if you could put the Facebook group in the chat as well, so people know where they can join that group. The most recent story was a nonprofit that had land that was adjacent to their school was donated. So that land wasn't for them to sell, it added to their property. But what we're talking about, the majority of what we're talking about, is real estate from anywhere in the country or the world that can be sold so that the nonprofit can buy what it needs. So this gift of real estate entitles the donor to a tax deduction against their adjusted gross income. We're going to show that in section 5, what this example looks like. And if the asset is appreciated, then they avoid the capital gains tax. So they avoid capital gains on that which they donate. So if someone donates the full value, that $1 million condo, if they don't want a mortgage paid off or cash back, they just want to give the keys and the deed, they're actually writing off the full $1 million value. So it sounds simple enough, right? There are people all over the country for the last 100 plus years that 80% of which donate real estate because it's the right thing to do. 20% do it because of the tax benefit. But here's the thing. It is so risky and scary for the nonprofits that it stops it in their tracks. And here are the reasons why it stops. These nonprofits are missing out on this funding because they have no expertise in real estate nor a dedicated real estate team. Now, we are going to share with you a few nonprofits in this country that do have a designated real estate team, but they are few and far between. And here's the thing. Even if I sit on their board, as a matter of fact, I have a fabulous friend, Connie Myers, who is on this masterclass quite often, and she has a nonprofit. She's asked me to be on the board. I sit on the board. I have expertise. I wrote the book on this topic. But look at bullet point number 2. No capital for upfront expenses, long-term holding fees, nor the unknown cost. I would never suggest to my peers on the board that her nonprofit accept a gift of real estate themselves. I'm not coming out of pocket to pay off mortgages. There is no capital for that. And it takes them off their mission. Mission drift is a big problem. If a nonprofit is created as a church to help the community or to stop human trafficking or to save animals or feed veterans, the minute they are doing anything that is stopping them from doing that, it is mission drift. And do you know what the biggest mission drift is? Fundraising. Nonprofits spend 75% of their time fundraising instead of actually doing that which they were created to do. So we just want to get them funded. Now, here's another reason that nonprofits are missing out on this massive funding. They have heard of or have had bad experiences. It scares the bejesus out of them to even consider real estate. 99.9% of them will take $500 cash over a deed worth $500,000 99.9% of the time. Now, some nonprofits will accept real estate on a limited basis. So these community foundations that we are meeting, there's 600 plus of them around the country. Some of them will take real estate if it's mortgage free, if it's vacant, if it's local, if it's easy. So it's a tiny little box that what they will take will fit into. So we're suggesting, hey, what about all the other real estate all over the planet? Now, the majority of nonprofits just flat out have it written right in their gift acceptance policies. We do not take real estate, period. End of story. So overall, it is just too risky. But the real reason that they are all missing out on this funding is because they don't know about the third way, which we're going to get into in section 2. So remember how I keep saying 99.9% won't? Well, what about that 0.0067% of nonprofits that do take real estate? So just going to pop some logos up here. Cammie Baker, why are you showing us nonprofits that take real estate if you're trying to teach us how your organization can help our nonprofits take real estate? Wouldn't these be competition? No. See, every 30 days or so, I'll go in and I'll get curious and I'll start Googling who accepts real estate, donations of real estate, charitable gifting of real estate, etc. And I'm going to expect that you'll do the same thing. Of course you will. If you have any desire to fund a nonprofit or bring this into your career, I hope you would do your due diligence. And guess what? You're going to find all of these. Let's use Cars for Kids as an example. You see, your clients, your donors on your donor list, the people you know, there are people right now that are Googling, how to donate real estate, what are the best tax advantages at the end of the year, etc. And they will come up on some of these nonprofits that do accept gifts of real estate. Cars for Kids not only takes cars, they take real estate. And I'm sure any one of these are fabulous organizations and deserve every penny that comes into them. Here's the problem for you and I in our markets, though. Cars for Kids is keeping the proceeds. The donor is going to get their tax advantage, but they cannot designate your church, your veteran group, your animal rescue league. They are not going to work with your American Endowment Foundation. They're keeping the money for themselves. So while we're all sitting around trying to figure out why this is such a win-win-win, and there must be something wrong with it because everybody benefits, these people are smart enough to just go ahead and promote that they take real estate. And we created the Real Agents of Change so that your nonprofit, your real estate office, your community can benefit from gifts of real estate, just like all of these people are. This is why we were created, because the other 99.9% of nonprofits aren't benefiting. The donors deserve to choose who gets the money. And all causes and careers and companies and communities can become proactive instead of reactive. Please don't be one of those limited mindset people who says, Cammie, our nonprofit's never been offered any real estate. If it ever comes up, we'll give you a call. Or one of those real estate companies, well, our clients have never asked for this service. If it ever comes up, we'll give you a call. Friends, that's being reactive. That's waiting for someone else to do something so that you can then react. What we're saying is, no, be proactive, educate and inform. Let people know what their options are. So, gonna take a little step back in the time capsule with you and share with you, if I may, the story that brings us all here together. If charitable gifting of real estate's been around for 100 years and $9 billion a year is donated, but none of us have ever heard of this before, what the heck brings it to the surface now? Well, this is the image of a woman who has recently gotten sober, had moved to a whole new part of the country and didn't know a soul, had a child that was 18 months or so old, and was living in a mobile home on food stamps. And of course, the smart thing to do for her was to get her real estate license. Now, fortunately, when I got my real estate license, I was actually working for a realtor who did 125 deals a year. And this was the good Lord looking down on me a long time ago and putting me in the right place at the right time. Because when I answered an ad in the good old-fashioned newspaper way back in 2001, I got this job with this realtor and learned from him about real estate. So when I got my license, this was also that same day, my daughter, I had actually been licensed at this point for maybe a year or two. And my daughter was with me at the headshot day. And she was one of the reasons why I wanted to be a realtor. I was a single mother. I didn't want to just leave her with a babysitter. I wanted to do something where I could bring her with me, where I could be a part of her growing up. This was one of her field trips. Back then, I was the only mother for the whole 12 years of her school that was at every field trip, that was following behind the bus with all the kids waving and me honking and stuff like that. I did all that from real estate. Real estate gave me that freedom and the ability to make money on my own terms. So the first company I was with was Remax. Remax obviously has a hot air balloon. Any Remax agent can bring the hot air balloon, but rarely do they. But I was always like guerrilla marketing, hungry, in the search, in the hunt, and always really creative about seeing things that other people didn't see. So when I was with Remax, I brought the hot air balloon to a couple of different events. I got the mayor and the governor to come out, made a big to-do about it with PR, relations, etc. And I also was with Century 21. I've been with just about every major brand over the last 25 years for different reasons. And I did a TV show with Century 21. So just showing you we got some creative guerrilla marketing going on here. And I actually did an HGTV House Hunter show. At first I did My House is Worth What? And then they introduced me to House Hunters. And over time, what happened was this. This is my antique car. I started promoting HGTV House Hunters. It got me a big commission check that rolled into buying my dream car, Scoop, the Mustang. The Mustang led into doing car shows. And the car shows would attract 50, 75, 100 cars that all had $20 to register for the car show. And we weren't doing the car show to try to make a couple $100. We were doing it to promote the brand and to get PR, etc. But I realized 50 cars at $20 a piece is $1,000. There's a lot of nonprofits that could use $1,000, especially 25 years ago when I was doing this. And so we started partnering with nonprofits. And we started promoting the antique car show from the perspective of helping the community and giving money to the Live and Let Live farm that rescued horses, etc. We did that car show for 7 years in a row at the same venue. And what happened was I got really good at cause marketing, marketing your business with a cause in mind, rolling together for-profit and nonprofit to make money, making a difference. And back then we were doing broad drives and diaper drives and all kinds of things. As a matter of fact, this is the diaper drive. Karen is the president of the board of realtors in the New England marketplace, and she hired me personally to do cause marketing campaigns to help her leave a legacy on her way out of office. This was for an addiction recovery place that was helping women who were coming off of opioids and having babies. And you know what? When rent and food are hard to pay for, diapers are another expense that is almost a nightmare. So we raised up 8,000 diapers. This was another client of mine. We did a toy drive for Toys for Tots. This was Jacksonville Real Estate Investor Association. They wanted me to fly down and do a talk. And I said, only if I can practice what I preach, only if we can do some kind of cause marketing campaign. So we did a coat drive. Those are all coats and blankets behind us. So over the last 15 years or so, I was already like helping for-profit to make money for making a difference. But it was all around fundraising and doing fundraisers like this one for Habitat for Humanity. And this was Karen, we created Realtors for Recovery together. And it was always about things that had to do with addiction. We did coat drives in Boston. We did fundraisers for animal rescue leagues and poker runs and, things for our enlisted people. So all of this cause marketing, been doing it for many, many, many years. And then 3 years ago, this month, 3 years ago, December 2019, I sat in a conference where I learned about charitable gifting of real estate. And I thought, holy cow, there's 2 million realtors out there. What if 1% of them knew about this? They could literally have a unique sales proposition, a way to really stand out from all the other realtors. I knew the other realtors like me that were already doing so much for the community, buying raffle tickets, sitting in on community funding programs and giving 10% of commission. I knew that they'd want to know about this. And so that's what started us on this journey to where we are today. We had this story written up last year in Yahoo Finance about how this is disrupting the real estate and the nonprofit worlds, bringing them together. We had this story written up in the Business Observer when we did our book launch with that nonprofit that I showed you earlier. And now we are traveling around the country, specifically in Florida at the moment, but this is a US based tax code. We've got people from California to Washington to New York to New Hampshire to Arizona and to Florida. And we are teaching them that real estate is hot, fundraising is not. We are leveraging List a Legacy Listing Month in April as a public service awareness campaign. And of course, the book is kind of the go-to Bible or workbook or pamphlet to guide you through how this works. As a matter of fact, in January, we're going to start doing a book study with the author, yours truly. Once a week, we're going to get together and read the book and really study it and go through it. So it was all that experience in real estate, knowing what it's like to be a realtor, door knocking, cold calling, FISBOs, expireds, role playing with realtors all over the country to handle objections, going to networking events where there's always 8 or 10 or 12 other realtors, whether it's a room or a Zoom. And then all of that fundraising with Ronald McDonald House and Make-A-Wish and all these nonprofits, friends, it was all that experience that had me, when I saw that 3 years ago, that charitable gifting of real estate was a thing. That's why I saw it with a different filter, apparently, than anyone else ever had, because it's been around for 100 years. And only 2% of what nonprofits bring in comes from this, but not anymore. Because now that we're teaching people like you, stuff like this is happening. So Martin Luther King Community Center got 1.7 million from a piece of real estate. Michael DeShavi is a really good friend of ours. I've known him for 15 years. We were in network marketing together. I coached him in real estate, taught him how to call expireds and for sale by owners. And he was the first person I called. And I said, Michael, I don't know what we're going to do with this. But instead of calling icky for sale by owners and expireds that you never know what you're going to get, you're always handling objections, always got people that are disappointed and upset, etc. What if we actually were calling on and talking to nonprofits and generous property owners and high net worth individuals who want to make a difference? So on that note, I'm going to stop sharing. And if anyone has a question or two, please feel free to ask. We do have a guest speaker coming in, but I don't see him here yet, so we'll just keep rocking on. All right, no questions means what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to show you our favorite story. This story has 2 videos because the first one I show you is from December of last year when a gentleman had some raw land that he wanted to donate for a tax deduction. A little bit later on in the presentation, you'll hear the rest of the story, how this nonprofit got a second donation in a 6-month period. So one moment. My apology, guys. I don't know why we're having bad internet, but I'm going to close a couple of other applications and see if this doesn't play now, we're going to take a 5-minute break. It is 11:54. We're going to come back at 12. And if this starts playing, you can just listen to it in the background. Hey, Patrick Mazer, thank you for logging in. We were just taking a bit of a bio break, but I know how valuable your time is. So just want to introduce our guest speaker today, friends. Patrick and I met, gosh, about 15 years ago, way back in my days of living in New Hampshire. And he changed my life. He has been and continues to be a mentor of mine that's actually mentioned in my first book, Mingled to Millions. So honored that a couple of weeks ago, we fell back into each other's lives for something that's super exciting that all of you need to know about, especially as realtors. This has to do with health sharing. And even though that may not sound exciting on the surface, ooh, boy, is this an opportunity not only to save 50 to 70% off health care, but to make money, making a difference and helping others to save money. So, Patrick, I just want to hand it on over to you. Let's hear how we can make a difference with this product.
Well, first, it was great to be on here, and Cammie and I have gone back 15 years. She's been a huge value add, as I'm sure you're probably getting an understanding now. I've watched her, come into different opportunities and just be a huge difference maker, and bring a lot of leadership, a lot of vision, things that all of us need to follow somebody that is going where we want to go together. And when her and I got back together, talking about this particular service, I've been self-employed for 20 years. For those of you that have ever had to go out and buy healthcare, you know how expensive it is. You know how confusing it is. This is a non-profit healthcare. And all that means is they're taking the corporate profiteering off of, helping sick people get better. No longer are we going to be around where companies are making money on the back of sick people. So this company is called Impact Health. And what they do is they provide major medical coverage. That means from doctor visits to ambulance ride to, God forbid, you need surgery. They cover everything. There's no network, meaning if you have a doctor that is best suited for your particular situation or your family, you can go straight to that doctor, get the care you want, and be able to do it knowing that the bill's going to get paid. Now, I was with a company that I'm sure all of you might have heard of called Blue Cross and Blue Shield. This is for a family of 4. I was paying $2,700 a month. You can see, don't come to the emergency room without $600 out in your hand. This is $2,700 a month to my family. The company that I work with today is called Impact Health. Impact Health went from a $2,700 a month family of 4 down to $628 for a family of 4. My Impact card came in the mail. You can see how beautiful it is. It says, Patrick, if you got to go to the emergency room, bring $150. Can everybody see that okay? Now, here's what I know. The hospital gets paid if we give them this card. The hospital gets paid if we give them this card. The only person that cares is the customer. How many of us agree that saving $24,000 a year on my health care is a big number? Anybody that's an entrepreneur, self-employed, or has to go out and navigate the difficult waters of health coverage, this is going to be something that is going to be welcomed for people like Cammie and Alan, myself, that understand, this is an industry that is extremely complicated, where now we've been able to bring it down to the simple. Second thing I'll share with you here today is, that we have an opportunity to help seniors. I know some of you have people like my mom. She was Medicare A and B. She still needed a supplement. She was paying $275 a month for her supplement. I was able to bring impact into her life. It went from $275 for a supplement down to $96 for a supplement. She's saving literally over $12,000 a year as a Medicare customer. And how many of us know older people in our life that are always looking to save money? Now, what makes this so unique is they can do groups, they can do families, they can do individuals. Now, for any of you that would like to get an understanding of the product, we're going to be doing something tonight at 7. I know you guys have a formal company event this evening, which I'm excited about being a part of. I'll take, maybe 10, 12 minutes. I'll sort of give some quotes real time. People can see what the savings are, drug pricing, what somebody would pay. They don't make any money on the drugs. It's shocking to see that, United Healthcare is getting rich on the back of people's drugs. Aetna's getting rich on the back of sick people. Blue Cross is charging 3 times more for drugs than what drugs actually cost. And I'm sure we all have a horror story here with 18 of us on here that know somebody that, went to the wrong doctor, out of network, get a bill for $1,000 or $8,000 and don't even understand why you're paying so much, because these companies are for profit. And so remember, when you think about Blue Cross, their number one goal is to make money, not to make you healthy. United's number one goal is to make money, not to make you healthy. How many of us here have a story of somebody we know that, was even afraid to go to the doctor? I have doctors that tell me that people die at home because they're afraid to go get medical treatment because they're afraid of what the bill's going to be. Here is a solution. Now, for those of you that have been in the Christian community, you might have heard of companies like MediShare. How many of you have heard of a company called MediShare? Now, MediShare, paid $4 billion in claims. They've been around for 30 years. Now, I must have been a bad Christian because I never heard of discounted healthcare at church. So I don't know if I went to the wrong church or heck, maybe I should change churches. But when the Affordable Cares Act came, they said, you can't keep this in the Christian community. So guess what? This is a non-religious based healthcare, meaning we don't ask any religious questions. You can come in whether you believe in God or not. It has no bearing on you becoming a customer with Impact Health. Now, here's my experience with them. One, feels like insurance, looks like insurance, does everything except deny the claims like insurance. So the good parts is it covers all your medical bills. The great part is it doesn't deny any. They paid 23,000 claims already, and they're really happy about doing so. So we've got a partnership here that we're going to be launching, that you guys are going to be able to incentivize people to want to be a part of your organization. I'm saving $24,000 on my health care. I don't care if Tony called me or Frank called me or Bob called me, right? Lyndon, I don't care if Miss Lyndon called me. I want to save $24,000 a year on my health care. So if any of you guys have any way of saving me that kind of money, I'm all ears. And here's my experience. Everybody hates the healthcare companies. How many of us would agree with that statement? They hate them because they're getting rich on the back of sick people. I mean, it is disgusting to see what they're doing. But think about this. Can we agree that Airbnb wasn't created by Marriott? Wasn't created by Hilton. It was a third party that came in and disrupted short-term housing. Rethinking. Now, can we agree? It doesn't look like Marriott, but it feels the same, right? You got a place to stay. It's less expensive. Took us a minute to get our head wrapped around. How many of you would agree that Uber wasn't created by the cab industry? It was a third party company that came in that said, let's rethink how you and I get places. Or it wasn't Walmart that rethought retail, it was Amazon. So the disruptors, the ones like, YouTube wasn't invented by NBC. So this is a disruptor in the space where they're rethinking a broken healthcare system by allowing people to get affordable healthcare without having to spend a tremendous amount of money and have all the challenges that come along with it. So this is a nonprofit. They've been around for many years. They paid 23,000 claims last year. They're able to do everything you and I need when it comes to healthcare without any of the difficulties that we're all probably accustomed. So we're going to get into a little more detail on this tonight. I believe it's 7 o'clock East Coast time. And so I know you guys are in the middle of a really important training today, but when Cami and I, got a chance to talk, I said, number one, I'm so happy with what you guys are doing in the nonprofit community as it is, and how you're going to be able to really help a lot of organizations with, what you guys have in this particular segment of what you guys can offer. And then if you see what we're going to do with healthcare, there's not going to be many people that are business owners that are not going to want to hear what we have to say when it comes, especially in a bad economy. Can we agree? When do we start looking at our bills? When the economy gets bad, right? When the 401k looks more like a 201k, or the employment situation becomes a little more difficult, or God forbid you work at Goldman Sachs and you lost your job this month as they laid off 8% of the company. When people lose their job, they lose their health care. So can we agree, as things get difficult and people lose their job, they also lose the opportunity to get health care, and guess what? They have to go to Cobra. And can we agree it was named right? A snake that hurts and kills, right? So can we agree COBRA is not an answer when it comes to affordable healthcare in America. So we're going to dive deep into this tonight. We're going to give you guys the big picture of how we believe this will be a major disruptor in the healthcare arena. And I love the opportunity to, share more and get into a little more details. I know you'll probably have questions as I did, but trust me when I tell you, the more you learn, the more happy you'll be. Right? It's not like where we see discounts, we think, what do we give up? How many of you know what I'm talking about? It's like, oh, they're charging less, so we're giving something up. This is completely different, where we're charging less and we're not giving anything up, but we're gaining. We're gaining the freedom to choose doctors we agree with, the freedom of knowing that there's no network we have to go from. For me, going from $2,700 a month for a family of 4 down to $628, can we agree there's some extra Christmas presents around the old tree this year, thanks to the fact that I'm taking it from Blue Cross and Blue Shield, right? And I'm happy to say goodbye to them, and I'm happy to be able to turn around and give them impact. So you'll see some of the things, 50 chiropractor visits a year covered, all kinds of exciting stuff that we're going to go through here tonight. So, Kami, I feel like a little commercial today, meeting this great group and being a part of what you guys are doing, the movement that's being created. I mean, I think of what you guys have and, what you, Alan, you guys are putting together. It's hard to sleep at night. I really just knowing what you guys are doing. I'm so excited because I see it as clear as I've seen anything. Really, when you guys showed me what you're doing, I felt like Ray Kroc meeting the McDonald's brothers. Like, oh my Lord, what you're telling me right now, like this is going to be big. Ray Charles can see this one. How many of us agree? Like, this is easy to see. You don't need any special glasses to catch the vision of what Kami's doing and Alan. And like I mentioned, they're dear friends and respect them, what they've done over the years. You don't have the history I have with this couple, but knowing what they've been able to do since meeting them 15 years ago and seeing the lives that have been impacted and the people that have benefited. And in a time in the world that I think we all can agree, we got to make a difference. If we don't do it, nobody else is. So I guess we're going to be the ones that are going to have to take the gauntlet and go down the field and do something special. So, Kami, thank you for letting me pop in and say hi to everybody. And I'll look forward to seeing everybody here tonight.
Thank you so much for your time, Patrick, and we'll see you at 7 p.m. Friends, we're going to put over in the chat a link so that you can be there tonight and learn how all of this works. This is for you. And it's also, so for example, Alan and I travel in our RV. We meet people every day that live full-time in an RV and they do not have health insurance outside of their home state. So this is an alternative that not only saves them 50 to 70%, but gives them health care anywhere in the country. So we're actually talking to trucking companies, RV companies, real estate companies, restaurants, etc. Now, going to go ahead and jump back in because now we're a little bit behind on time, but I think that was a very valuable 10 minutes to spend. So let me share the screen and we are going to get back to charitable gifting of real estate. And it looks like that video is just not going to play for us today. So we will get on to section 2. Section 2, benefits and strategies. Let's learn that third win-win-win way that we have been alluding to. This knowledge is what's going to help the nonprofits you care about, including your own pocketbook, to make money making a difference. So here's the third way. Now let's remember back. We've got Frank up in the northwest part of the country. He's got a nonprofit. He's got a donor, Bob, who owns a condo in Florida. It's got a $200,000 mortgage. Bob wants $200,000 cash, but he's willing to give the rest of the equity to the nonprofit world. The first way would be if he were to sell that property himself and give proceeds to Frank's nonprofit. Problem is, the nonprofit world gets less money. The donor gets less tax advantages. It is the worst way to handle a piece of real estate for the property owner to do it themselves. The second way is if that donor were to give that condo directly to the nonprofit in the Northeast. Well, first and foremost, 99.9% of those nonprofits will not take it. They just won't. It's too risky. It's too cumbersome. It takes too much time. It's not convenient. And even if they do it, it is the hardest way possible. So, third way, the real agents of change have put together the resources and relationships and experts to be able to take title to that property on behalf of that nonprofit in the Northwest or any of the 1.5 million nonprofits, so that the nonprofit world has no risk because they never take title. They don't even need to know the address of the property or even what city or state it's in. That's how far removed they are. The nonprofit world has no out-of-pocket expense to handle this transaction. The 501c3 that we are partnered with that handles the full transaction and gives the tax benefits to the donor, they actually keep their donation part off the back end, and it's so minuscule that even the nonprofits that do take real estate, when they find out how cheap it is to let somebody else take on that headache, that's the option that they choose for. We have enough capital available to enhance the value of the property. So sometimes real estate hasn't sold because it's a huge strip mall and it needs a parking lot replaced and the owner just won't do it. Or whatever the enhancement is. We actually have stories of strip malls that were 70% vacant, but these experts were able to bring in an anchor store and bring the value of the property up. So in other words, there's plenty of capital to do what needs to be done to enhance the value. Bargain sale. All right. If a property is donated free and clear, there's no mortgage, the donor doesn't want cash, here's the keys, here's the deed, have a great day, full donation, that's a donation of real estate. But if any money exchanges hands, if there's a mortgage to be paid off, if the donor wants cash for any reason, it's called a bargain sale. And for a year, Tamisa would tell you, we all dislike the words bargain sale because it sounds like it's a bargain basement. There's something wrong with it. But ultimately what it means is the 501c3 that is acquiring the property is basically buying it at a bargain, because in our scenario that we're sticking with, this is $1 million appraised condo. Because of the $200,000 mortgage and the $200,000 cash to the donor, our 501c3 is buying it at a bargain of $400,000. Then when they list it with a realtor at a full commission, after they recoup their expenses, they're giving on average 98% to the nonprofit world. The donor receives the full array of tax benefits immediately. So in the story that I was going to share with you earlier, the donor of these 12 lots last December came to the table on December 10th or 12th. He wanted to get a tax deduction that year, had less than 20 days to do it, but because of an expert team that does this every day, they were able to give him the tax advantage before the end of the year that year. So the third way, the win-win-win way, means that the nonprofit world receives the maximum amount of donation. The donor receives the maximum amount of tax benefits. There's no risk. There's no money out of pocket. The real estate agent gets a full commission to sell it. And 1.5 million nonprofits, every single one of them qualify. Sounds too good to be true? No, it's just a bunch of smart people who put some ideas together that happen to be a win-win-win for everyone. So this is what we are focusing on today, and how the real agents of change help people become specialists and champions and helping those community foundations. So with all that in mind, let's talk about who are the key stakeholders in a gift of real estate. Number one is the donor. And believe it or not, way more money comes from individuals than corporations. 70-something% comes from individuals when it comes to donors in general, not just of real estate, but in general. Now, the advisor. Think of the advisor community that we're talking about at the Real Agents of Change as anyone who advises a client that owns real estate. So that could be a realtor, it could be a wealth manager, it could be a CPA or a tax accountant or an attorney. So advisors of real estate. And then the nonprofit world themselves, whether it's public charities, life income tools, or the donor advised fund, or just the good old fashioned, homeless shelter down the road, nonprofit world. And it looks something like this. And this is why I call it the triangle of trust. Now, the donors are a yes. A yes to what, you might ask? Well, they are a yes to wanting to donate real estate. We do not convince someone to donate real estate. You do not sell someone on donating real estate. What we do is we educate and inform and tell people what their options are. And when the right people hear this option, they are a yes to it. The advisory community is also a yes, meaning the realtors want to get paid a full commission. They want to help their communities. Sure, they'll give 10% for, out of their commission to help 1 or 2 or 3 nonprofits. But when we tell them that they can make money from listing these properties, and the CPAs and the financial advisors that add to their assets under management, in other words, the advisory community are a yes. Believe it or not, the ones that stand to benefit the most, the nonprofits themselves, they are the ones that are a no to real estate. Now, we've already gone through that whole list of reasons why that is, but just to revisit that for a moment, most of them must say no. It is too complex. It has too much risk. They don't have the money to do it. They lack the expertise, the mission drift. I just was talking with a company today, a woman that I met many years ago who's created a company that will help nonprofits to get that $10,000 a month Google grant money, where you can get $10,000 a month for ads for your nonprofit from Google. And she and I were talking about this, and she said, Cammie, we consult nonprofits every day, and one of the biggest problems for them is that mission drift. They created a mission, who the people are that they're going to serve, how they're going to serve, and then they start drifting off of that to take care of admin stuff and fundraising and taking real estate. So this is a reason why they say no to real estate. They've heard of bad experiences. They've had bad experiences. Most of them have gift acceptance policies that flat out say we don't take real estate. So the moral of the story is the donors, yes, please. The advisors, yes, please. The nonprofits, not so much. They say things like, well, we took a gift of real estate once. We'll never do that again. I know a Boys and Girls Club right here in Florida that was gifted a golf course about 10 years ago that brought in about $10 million for them. And they handled it themselves. And even though they are so grateful for the money, and that money built the facility that they're in now, even they say they would never, ever do it again. Or some of them will say, well, we do accept real estate. And friends, you're going to hear nonprofits, especially community foundations, that will say that. But if you ask them a little bit deeper questions, you'll find out they only take it on a very limited basis. They only take it with months and months of board approval. They never take it if it involves a bargain sale and paying off mortgages. And they just outright say no to most offers because most offers are going to require some kind of out-of-pocket expense. So it's really the nonprofits that are blocking the market. So our team of experts, including, we call them the specialized nonprofit. They are the nonprofit for all nonprofits. Their mission is to accept real estate of any kind from anywhere, taking on all financial, environmental risks inherent in real estate transactions, and convert the asset into cash so that they can grant the money to the nonprofit that the donor wants to have it. It is as simple as that. And this is not a grant that needs to be applied for. This is simply a check. We have story after story of nonprofits that didn't even know that real estate had been donated on their behalf. This nonprofit just showed up, physically walking through the door, handing them a check, and people just about passed out because the check could be $20,000, $50,000, on average, $550,000 to $600,000. So The Rock, our team of experts that includes a specialized nonprofit, once again, here's what they do. They exclusively accept gifts of real estate. That's all they do. They provide the donor the tax benefits, in most cases in 30 days or less. They absorb the title and financial risks inherent in all real estate gifts, meaning there is no risk to any nonprofit. They work with the brokerage community and they pay a full commission. We say that because we want our real estate friends to know, even though real estate is being donated and gifted and given away, that doesn't mean your time is being given away. We want you to get paid. You deserve to get paid. And we want you to know, because you're working with professionals who are savvy about real estate and understand how it works, you're going to be incentivized by getting that full commission. They grant the money to the nonprofits that the donor has chosen. It could be 1, 3, 5, 10. It could be a donor advised fund. And this is another reason why nonprofits won't accept real estate, because what if that donor doesn't want this nonprofit to get all the proceeds? You mean you want our nonprofit to handle a transaction and then give away half of it? Not doing it. Lots of reasons why they won't do it. So this is being called the awakening. Non-cash versus cash gifts. The endowments grow at 6 times the rate. So Dr. Russell James is Texas Tech professor who wrote the foreword for our book, Real Estate is Hot, Fundraising is Not. He and his team have done the research. And when a nonprofit accepts non-cash assets, they grow at 6 times the rate of those that only accept cash. Donors give 3 to 7 times more. Jackie Franey of the Nature Conservancy. The Nature Conservancy is one of the largest nonprofits that actually accepts real estate of any kind from anywhere in the country. They figured this out decades ago, and they have proven that the same donors on your donor list will give 3 to 7 times more when you just educate them about real estate, and of course other non-cash assets like stocks and business interest and gold bullion and all these other things, but for us specifically around real estate. So just to reiterate that, no additional donors are needed. Now, with the Real Agents of Change bringing everybody together like has never been done in over 100 years, the donors also come from us and our centers of influence. But ultimately, we want the nonprofits to know, how do you find this mystical unicorn of a property donor? You tell your donor list. So the collaboration, do what you do best. So here's what the nonprofits, all those 1.5 million nonprofits, the ones that you love and care about, what they do best is they get into the community and strengthen those donor interests. They promote their cause. They make sure that people know that they help veterans or animals or children, etc. They cultivate that emotional connection. And now that they have all those connections, let's be clear. We do not want the donor list. The Real Agents of Change, the realtors, the financial advisors, none of us want the nonprofit's donor list. What we want to do is educate them as to how they can tell their own donor list that they benefit from non-cash assets. And they can start by asking for the gift of real estate. Now, the specialized nonprofit, what they do best is accept, fix, sell, and grant the funds to the nonprofit world. They intervene on behalf of all the stakeholders. They provide the resources all gifts of real estate require. They solve the complexity. Wait till you hear some of the stories of how complex. I mean, what in the heck would a nonprofit in the Northwest or in Florida or in Wisconsin, what would they do with 50% ownership of a winery in California that's in the middle of harvest season? Well, that's one of the stories of our case studies. Very complex, and this team can handle it. They grant the bulk of the net proceeds to other nonprofits. Now, what does the Rock do? We help with the systems and the scripts and the support. We help with putting together the relationships and resources so that everybody can make revenue with this. The social media, the strategies, this community foundation collaboration. Friends, all of this is coming together after 3 years of talking and communicating and introducing and research and our longevity in the marketplace. Now, do you recognize any of these logos? Sure you do. Maybe you recognize a lot of them. These are all nonprofits that have benefited from the third way. The third way, the way that was risk-free for them, the way that didn't cost them any money out of pocket. They benefited from receiving grants that they did not submit a proposal for. They simply received funding from real estate because the same team that's at your disposal helps Fidelity Charitables. So 1.5 million nonprofits. I imagine it like a big pile, almost like a big, I see it as like a big pie, like a big cream pie, right? And at the top are all the nonprofits that bring in the most money and are the biggest and the most successful. And as you go down and get down into the crust, you get down to those that just got their 501c3 designation, and maybe they brought in $1,000 last year. So from the smallest to the largest, if you put a cherry right on top of that pie, it would be Fidelity Charitables because they are the largest. And friends, even they don't want to do their own gifts of real estate because they're smart enough to stay in their wheelhouse. The same team that does this for Fidelity Charitables is the same team that does it with The Rock, is the same team that's at your disposal. Now, universities, public radio, public TV, there is a huge campaign going on right now with a nonprofit that is working with all public TV, letting people know that they accept gifts of real estate. Friends, this is happening all around us. $9 billion, average of $600,000 to $900,000 per donation. Let's just bring it into your company, your pocket, your nonprofit's world. So here's the case study, that video that wouldn't play a little bit earlier. We might try to see if we can get it to play here after this section, but the case study looks like this. Humane Society. December last year, the guy had 12 lots of land, actually turned out to be 13. When it closed in April, it brought $406,000 to the Berkeley Humane Society. Huh, says Berkeley. Didn't know that was possible. Can we do it again? Yes, you can. All you need to do is tell people. All you need to do is tell people. All you need to do is educate and let people know it's an option. So a second donation came in from a woman who had a house given to her, 55 and older community in Carmel. Her mother left it to her many years ago. She's paying taxes on it. She doesn't want it. She donates it. $646,000 more comes into Berkeley. Friends, one nonprofit, 2 donations over a 6-month period, $1,052,000 and some change. If you go to the Berkeley Humane Society website, which we'll give you at the end, we don't want you going down rabbit holes right now, but if you go there, you'll see a really fancy page about accepting gifts of real estate. And there's widgets, and if you bought the property for this and it's sold for that, and your tax bracket is this, here's how much you'll save on capital gains. But they didn't have that a year ago. What they had was a donor that brought to their attention that real estate is a way they could get funded. And then they used their mouth and they told people and got a second donation. And after $1 million comes in, you can have a really fancy website with widgets, but you don't need that to get this process started. So the reason why specialized nonprofits were created is because real estate is really, really underperforming. And it looks like this. 3% of people's wealth is in cash. 43% of America's wealth is in real estate. It is a statistic, it's a fact, it is what it is. Yet, only 2%, so 90% of what nonprofits bring in, 90% of what they bring in comes from 3% of cash, and only 2% comes from real estate. So here's the numbers. $474 billion in 2020. 2% of that, $9 billion, came from real estate. So the specialized nonprofit that we work with tells the story that all of them on their board, in their group, they were all commercial realtors, developers. They have run nonprofits. They've sat on nonprofit boards. They were having a fishing trip one weekend, and they said, why do you think it is that these nonprofits are not benefiting from real estate? And they actually, over a couple of years, interviewed 1,000 nonprofits, flew around the country, and figured out the best way to support them would be to have a nonprofit that could accept gifts on behalf of other nonprofits. And that's exactly what they did. So here is the opportunity. People like Dr. Russell James, people like our specialized nonprofit Realty Gift Fund, people like Jackie Dufresne, and people like Cammie C.E. Baker are all saying that 2% that nonprofits are receiving from real estate could go to a measly 6.5%. And if they did, when they do, with big mouths like ours telling people as they grow, that's $29 billion, not one time, annually, year after year, adding $20 billion to the nonprofit pipeline from real estate. And every one of these donations, now there is the rare property that's next to a school that they just merged together, or the house that gets donated for shared living around a nonprofit that provides housing. That happens. But 99% of the time, it's real estate from someplace else. And the nonprofit doesn't need that real estate. What they need is the cash. They need the money. They need the funding. They won't take it. We will. And the real estate agents get paid to do it. Gene Frederick is the granddaddy of EXP. They've got 82,000 or so realtors at this point, and he overrides 75, 80% of that. We met with him at his house in Puerto Rico 18 months or so ago, and I've got a interview with him, therock.com/EXP, where this quote was pulled from. Gene Frederick didn't know about this. I am telling you from our experience of 3 years and talking to tens of thousands of people, your competition doesn't know how this works. You have the unfair advantage, but only if you tell people. So if there's any questions, please let me know. If not, I'm just going to look over here and see if I can figure out how to get a video to share. So feel free to ask any questions. I'm just looking.
So Cammie, The Rock buys or pays the donor in that example for $1 million, the 400,000 you said, and then you guys sell the property and work things out that way?
Well, just to be completely clear about it, The Rock doesn't. The specialized nonprofit that we partnered with does. Okay. So the videos that I'm trying to show you is me interviewing Realty Gift Fund, Bruce Geis, about how these transactions go down. So they're the ones that take title because the donor wants a tax deduction. So this property has to be donated to a 501c3 to make that happen. And that's why they are a 501c3, but then they bring their real estate experience into it and enhance the value of the property, list it with the realtor at a full commission, And when they recoup all their expenses, what's left, they don't keep a fee. They don't get paid a fee. They get a donation, and I'm dancing around the language because they're playing with the language of this, but it's on average 1 to 2% of the proceeds are actually reserved by them for the work that they do.
Okay, yeah, you said earlier that the donor gets the 200,000 to pay off the mortgage and the 200,000 for themselves, and that's paid out first once the nonprofit gets control.
Well, that's so great question, Mark. So that's paid out first. That's how the nonprofit takes control. So sometimes people say, well, Cammie, when a property is sold, the mortgage gets paid off. So what's the big deal? But what we want to share is there's a missing piece there, because in order for that donor to get the tax deduction they want, they need to donate it to a 501c3. And as we all know, if a property exchanges hands with any entity, it has to be free and clear. And so in order for a 501c3 to take title that gives them a tax deduction, the mortgage has to be paid off before it is sold to the end user.
Okay, and that comes from the capital funds you were talking about. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for asking that question.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, let me see. I have kind of pulled up the video. Let me see if I can get one of the videos to play so that you all can see a little story from Realty Gift Fund. I'm going to play the multi in Scottsdale in honor of Tamisa Lydon, who is here. If it plays, I'm going to put it on 1.5 times just to speed it up. Studies are so important for people to really wrap their head around charitable gifting of real estate, who donates, why they donate, who gets the money, how much money they get. So we love hearing from Realty Gift Fund. Bruce Geis is the master. He is the secret sauce. They make these transactions happen super easy for any nonprofit in this country. Bruce, tell us the case study for today.
Well, I want to be sure that we talk about a variety of different types of donations. So this next one's going to be a discussion of a bargain sale. Okay. A bargain sale, for those who are not aware, is a gift from a donor to a nonprofit for which the donor would like a cash payment, a partial cash payment against the full value of the asset that the donor is giving to the nonprofit. So it's part gift, part sale. And to make this more clear, we are working with a donor now. We haven't closed on this, but it is the perfect example of the kind of work that we do. It's a multifamily apartment building in Scottsdale that has a value of about $6.3 million. And for whatever reason, he would like a $2 million payment made to him against the $6.3 million appraisal that he believes he can get when it's time for him to get the appraisal on his property in respect to the whole process that we follow when we take these donations. The reason for the $2 million payment may be that he would like the return of his initial capital. There is no debt on the property, so we know that we're not paying off any debt. It may be that he's trying to trim down the gift portion to an amount that he can use over 6 tax periods to claim a charitable deduction against his income, because there is a limit as to how much you can claim against your income, and you do get 6 tax periods to eat up all of the tax deduction. And oftentimes donors do have in mind, how much can I actually use? So we're uncertain at this moment as to what the reason is, but we have agreed to pay him $2 million when we accept the donation and take deed to the multifamily property. And then we believe that there are 2 buyers potentially in the marketplace. Actually, there are probably a dozen buyers in the marketplace, maybe even 24 buyers for a multifamily property in Scottsdale, Arizona. Multifamily properties are one of the hot commodities in today's real estate environment. Even, despite the fact that interest rates are going up, a lot of the money that is provided to buyers for multifamily properties come from institutions. So they're essentially cash deals. And so the interest rate environment doesn't really affect that much the sale value. So we believe we have an asset that is going to be reasonable to sell, that it's in reasonable condition. We have checked into this. and that it's reasonably occupied, you know, at 96% or something like that. So we're all in on this, and we look forward to writing that check to our donor for $2 million, accepting his gift, finding a buyer, and producing $4 million, which is going to go to a new relationship that we have with an institutional donor advised fund sponsor, Vanguard. We're, you know, really looking forward to that for that reason.
That's fabulous. You know, there's so many donor advised fund organizations that are working with Realty Gift Fund, Fidelity Charitables, Vanguard, American Endowment Foundation. Do you have any idea who the nonprofits are that he might be giving out of his donor advised fund?
We normally do find that out, and we're not to that point yet. We are going to find that out. It's interesting because our donors know who they're going to support for the most part. You know, one of the reasons that people do use donor advised funds, I mean, I'm just going to be honest here. They have a big event. Donor advised funds are commonly believed to be the solution for somebody who has a big income event and would like to get some capital gains protection on a portion of the event by throwing it into a donor advised fund and then selling the asset, and the gift portion passes free of capital gain taxes. That's what's happening here. The gift is being made to our nonprofit. The asset passes free of capital gain taxes. We're in the business of making grants to other nonprofits, and in this case, we're making a grant to a donor advised fund in the donor's name at Vanguard.
So that is just one of the many examples. We have 14 case studies on that one link, and we'll provide all that to you at the end. So you can do any of your own due diligence on that. And
Cammie, the 6 tax periods, those are quarterly or yearly?
yearly.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Good questions. Good keeping in the know. Alan is going to put in the chat, by the way, for those of you who are asking, the link for tonight to learn more about the health sharing at 7 p.m. Alan's going to put that link in with the /Cammie in it so that you can be there at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. It'll be a quick meeting. It's about 30 minutes, and Patrick will take about half of that. So I'm going to go back and share, and let's get into the next section. Okay, section 3. Let's have some fun with why is this a win-win-win, and what are the benefits to everyone involved. So the benefits to the donor: they avoid capital gains tax. So they avoid it on that which they donate. Obviously, if they pull cash out, if a mortgage gets paid off, then that's a capital event, as Bruce would say, and they do pay taxes on that. But they avoid capital gains. They qualify for a tax deduction against the adjusted gross income based on the appraised value. So in section 5, we're going to show you the case-by-case scenario. Stay tuned for that. You can laugh at how elementary I explain it, but I actually like showing you guys. I am not a financial person. I'm not a CPA. I don't really understand all the tax stuff, but I know just enough to show you why it's a benefit to the donor. And remember, do what you do best, refer the rest. You do not have to be an expert in this. You do not have to be an expert in how the taxes work. Please don't try to explain taxes to people. That's what those experts are for. They can preserve liquid assets to protect their lifestyle. What the heck does that mean? Look, when a nonprofit is asking a donor to make a cash donation to buy raffle tickets, to attend another golf tournament, that person is comparing, do I want to give $1,000 to the nonprofit, or do I want to buy Christmas presents for my children? Do I want to buy $50 raffle tickets, or do I want to take my wife to dinner tonight? In other words, cash is competing with other cash lifestyle items. When we shift from cash to wealth, the wealth bucket of real estate, that now they can keep all their cash to go to dinner and to buy those Christmas presents. This eliminates a complex asset from an estate. Please do not get hung up on thinking that everyone wants to leave their property to their children. They do not. And believe it or not, the kids don't want it either. They don't want that factory in Idaho. They do not want the 1,000 acres in Texas or the strip mall in California. They don't even want the condo at the beach if it's just not convenient for them. So this eliminates that headache, and they can take some of that cash to buy life insurance. That's what the kids want. They want the cash. This can simplify the asset transfer to the next generation. We'll talk about this more with the donor advised funds and the financial advisors. But when you think about it, that next generation that doesn't want complex, big property, this is a way for them to simplify that. They can experience the convenience of, please take this off my hand. One of our other favorite stories is of Linda, and this big nonprofit, National Jewish Healthcare, has still to this day, has a donor named Linda Grable specifically. And Linda was giving them $25 a year for 32 years. A couple years ago, she saw a presentation like this. She learned that she could donate real estate. Linda, at $25 a year, actually had a piece of real estate that when she donated it, the fundraiser at that nonprofit told me earlier this year, she said, you know, Cammie, the reason Linda donated that was because it was convenient. The cabin was in the Poconos. It was a 6-hour drive for Linda. It was falling into disrepair. She didn't want to deal with it. It was convenient for her to donate it. People do it out of convenience. Another benefit for donors is that they can receive that partial cash payment for any reason. It is called a bargain sale, as we mentioned earlier. So the question people ask is, can they donate part of the value of the real estate and not the whole thing? Yes, it's called a bargain sale. And whether they need to pay off debt, whether they want the return of the initial investment, maybe that condo in Florida, maybe they paid $200,000 for it 10 years ago and they want to get their initial investment out, whether they are wanting to tailor the size of the gift. So maybe their accountant says, look, you can't write off $1 million over the next 6 years. You can only write off 600,000. Then maybe they pull out the 400,000 because they couldn't write it off anyway. And maybe they want to replace life insurance to replace the money. So instead of leaving that $1 million condo to their kids who don't really want it anyway, they can actually pull out some money, buy some really stout life insurance policies, and now little Billy and little Mary are happy with the life insurance instead of the condo they didn't want. So you might be saying, okay, I'm impressed with the benefits that the donor gets. I'm starting to understand, but seriously, who would really donate their property? And we get into this more when you're a specialist and a champion and more part of our trainings and stuff. But to just kind of get this out of your head, these are the kinds of people that would donate real estate. Now, this couple last year donated $129 million of real estate portfolio to the Arizona Community Foundation. Imagine if you were the one that hooked up this kind of donor with a nonprofit. Any donors, any nonprofit, any real estate, anywhere in the country, and you got a finder's fee for that, or you got a referral fee for that. So these are the kinds of people that you can add to your database. These are the people that do it. And 80% of these donations are for altruistic reasons. Friends, you have veterans in your database, in your Facebook friends, in your circles of influence, in your past clients. You have veterans who will leave property to help their brothers and sisters that are veterans. You have people that have 18 cats and dogs, and they will leave their property to the Humane Society. We've seen the story. Now, 20% of people do leave or gift real estate for the tax benefit. We cannot possibly imagine all the scenarios out there and why it benefits people. But for some people, to give the property as opposed to paying the capital gains tax and all the other benefits tax-wise, it's just smarter for them. And remember, 9 billion a year is being donated. So it is happening. It's just a matter of, is it happening for you and around you and in your center of influence? And either way, whether it's altruistic or tax benefit, either way, here's what you need to know. They want to do it. Friends, at least once a week, somebody says to me, how do I convince a realtor to come to the master class? How do I convince a donor to donate real estate to our nonprofit? Let's be really clear. The Real Agents of Change have zero interest in convincing anyone of anything. We educate and inform. We show people their options, and those who want to participate do. So these property owners want to donate. They are grateful to learn that, yes, their church can benefit from real estate. Their church won't take the real estate. Their church already said no, but that's okay. They can work through us. And when we give a check to the church will wake up and start asking the rest of the people in the pews for gifts of real estate. And the donors are eager to learn more. They want to learn more. They want to come to a Zoom. They want to hear about this. Now, where do you find them? Well, first of all, you already do know them. We'll help you identify them. The story of Linda, everyone on here, if I were to stop and talk to each of you, we all know someone that loves their nonprofit enough to give it $25 in a 12-month period. We all know Linda. We all know her. We all have her in our donor list. We have her in our Facebook friends. We have her in our cell phone. We've never asked her if she has real estate to donate. So how could we possibly know what she would or wouldn't do? And to take it another step, where do we find these people? First and foremost, in the donor list of the nonprofit, number one. Number two, financial advisors. Number three, your center of influence. That's where these people are. They are not fictitious unicorns. They are human beings that deserve to know what their options are. So let's talk about the benefits to the nonprofits from the perspective of how we do it. If a nonprofit goes out and tries to figure this out on their own, these are not benefits to them because there will be risks. There will be out-of-pocket expenses. There will be months and months and board meeting after board meeting and risk. And oh, wow, that costs money we didn't know about. These are the benefits when a nonprofit is like Fidelity Charitables and chooses to have a third party to help them with this sort of thing. So these are just some different variations of the nonprofit world. Deborah LaPlante is part of our community foundation collaboration that we'll be talking about in a little bit. She started playing with this in January last year, and immediately, this is going to get your reticular activator activated, that thing that makes you start noticing things that you weren't seeing before. When she took our class in January last year, that very night, she was watching the 700 Club, and she saw a pastor that so desperately was needing funding, and she reached out to him and created a relationship with tons of churches all over the country. So Deborah is part of what we're doing, and we just love Deborah. So nonprofits, here's the benefits. They receive the benefits of the gifts, but avoid the risk and liability when they do it the third win-win-win way. They can embrace their donors' best interest, allowing the gifts they want to give of appreciated assets. You see, all these nonprofits, they're saying no, 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 no. Those donors that they're saying, no, we don't take business interests. No, we don't take cryptocurrency. No, we definitely don't take real estate. Those donors are going to other nonprofits who are saying yes. So these nonprofits can now embrace those donors, and they can say, yes, let us turn you over to our real estate team. Strengthen those relationships by tapping into those wealth buckets, not their income bucket. Friends, that income bucket, that cash pocket change, They're limited. They're very limited. Wealth Bucket is completely different role reversal. Now, they are growing their endowments by 6 times the rate of the nonprofits that only accept cash. Dr. James's study has proven if a nonprofit only accepts cash, they grow at about 11% a year. When nonprofits accept non-cash assets, they grow at 66% a year. And Jackie Franey has proven that those same donors, see, think about it as business people. As business people, which is better? Have a return client that's already done business with you, or go out and market and try to find a new client? Well, obviously it's better to do more business with the people you already know. It's the same thing for nonprofits. Those same donors can give from their wealth bucket. And it expands the major number of major gifts that come into the nonprofit. Let's talk about our advisors. The first part is specifically to the real estate broker. So let's elevate ourselves from real estate agent, from realtor to advisor, real estate advisor that can advise people on a sophisticated gifting plan to giving that is a sophisticated conversation that no other realtor in their marketplace is talking about. Switch focus to a seller that's not emotionally attached. Real estate friends, if you haven't had this happen, you ain't been in business long enough. You have a client, older couple, older individual. They've got 3, 4, 5, 6 children all over the country. And they all want to tell you how to sell mom's house. They all know what it's worth. They all believe that you should write it up this way. And these are the photos you should use. And here's how much you should take and shouldn't take. When you get all those emotional fingers in the pie, it is a nightmare. So the way that this works, when the real estate is donated to the specialized nonprofit, the secret sauce, the 501c3 that are real estate experts, they will pay the realtor a full commission and let them do their job. They are not emotionally attached to grandma's house. They just want you to do what you need to do to get it sold. And that, my friend, is a huge benefit. Now, financial advisors and wealth managers, we got a whole section on them coming up. Ultimately, real estate is the one hard asset that a financial advisor cannot manage. When we show them how they can get that asset liquidated and put that money into a donor advised fund that they can manage, now they can make money on it. And they like that. They can preserve the next generation of clients. So they got John and Mary, been their client for 40 years, got all this real estate, they got kids. When they take all that real estate, liquidate it, put it in a donor advised fund, and now it's turnkey easy to leave it to the children, those children are much more likely to stay with that wealth advisor because it's just easy. And maintaining a client base and retaining clients as opposed to going and finding new ones is a blessing. I think we would all agree. Now, all advisors can be CCRES. When we first created this, it was just for realtors. The vision was there are 2 million realtors. Why don't we certify 1%? But after the first year, we realized, 50% of the people in here are realtors, but the other 50% are financial advisors, CPAs, attorneys, estate planning people, fundraisers, nonprofits, radio show hosts. We've got a radio show host on us with us today. All kinds of people. And everyone that gets certified shows up on the map. And we'll be showing you the map in just a little bit. Become proactive versus reactive. So instead of being that person who says, well, nobody's ever asked me about this. If it ever happens, I'll give you a call. Sitting back and waiting to react when someone else does something, you can be proactive and you can actually be the one that brings these donations to the forefront of your community, your causes, and your company. Strengthen those relationships when you're the only CPA, when you're the only radio host, when you're the only attorney, when you're the only wealth manager, when you're the only realtor, when you're the only dog walker that is talking about this. You will get referrals, you will get introductions. People are going to want to work with you because 87% of consumers want to do business with the businesses that are on purpose, gaining those new clients, leveraging marketing. So I'm going to stop and see if there's any questions and go find another video to share. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. Let's see if we can get another video to play. All right, I'm going to play the story that we've been talking about from the Humane Society, just to give you the rest of the story. So hold on one second. Let me share screen again. The Real Agents of Change podcast series. We are speaking with Bruce Geis from Realty Gift Fund, talking about another case study where a donor has donated real estate to benefit the nonprofit world. Bruce, tell us our story for today.
Okay, this is an interesting one because it's a case of a nonprofit who was a late donor 2021 to us. First time they'd ever met Realty Gift Fund. And we stepped in and fulfilled a need they had. They had a donor with 13 pieces of property. They wanted to get off their books and donate by December 31st, 2021 to benefit this nonprofit. And we took a call on a Sunday afternoon and we said, absolutely, would be delighted to do this. Ultimately, that donation led to a check going to that nonprofit for about $408,000. It took about, I think the check went out in late March. We had to sell 13 pieces of property to get there. Here's the interesting part for us. This nonprofit immediately, as this was underway, started marketing gifts of real estate. And now we are under contract to do the second deal for them, which is a residential condominium in Carmel, California, owned by a woman who actually lives in Berkeley and is never going to use this property again. It was gifted to her a long time ago by her mom. It's in a senior community that she is not going to move into. And so she has made a gift to us, and we are going to sell it to somebody who wants to live in this senior community. We have run the math. We have talked to our broker. We have talked to our title company. We know that we need to invest $20,000 to get it ready for the market. And we believe that we are quite easily going to net for this nonprofit $600,000. Here's why this is an interesting story. We didn't know this nonprofit December 1st. Here it is, late spring the following year, and we're about to do $1 million worth of donations for this nonprofit from 2 pieces of donated property. That, I think, is a good story.
That, we think, is the perfect story to explain exactly how this works. So it is 1:05. I'm going to jump right into the next segment because we are running a little bit behind. But if you do have a question, please feel free to raise your hand and stop me. But this next section is going to teach us what qualifies as a donation of real estate. So here we go. A. Oops, we're going to do financial advisors before we talk about what qualifies. That's okay. Let's get through the weeds of this. And friends, really pay attention to this, because even though you're not a financial advisor, you will want to work with them, because after all, you're here to learn about charitable gifting of real estate. And when you know that 65% of these transactions are instigated by a financial advisor, of course you want to learn what turns them on about it, what lights their fire. So their favorite nonprofit is the Donor Advised Fund. And I didn't think about this twice for the first year. I was so focused on realtors. But now we've added this as a segment because it's so important for us all to just understand why this all benefits everyone. So a donor advised fund is the fastest growing public charity. This is why Fidelity Charitable is the largest nonprofit in the country, because they are donor advised funds. They are $13 billion worth of them. So the donor advised fund is a charitable investment fund regulated as a public charity that is funded by the donor, whether it's one time or throughout their life. It's administered by a qualified sponsor, which would be Fidelity or Vanguard or some others that we're going to mention in a moment. It's directed by the donor, meaning when the money goes into the donor advised fund, a fund that the donor advises, they grant out money to other nonprofits. So if you're a nonprofit and you're saying, Cammie, I don't want realtors and financial advisors putting money in this donor advised thing, I want it in my bank account. I would say to you, well, here's the thing. When you know what a donor advised fund is, and you know that there's $13 billion in them just in Fidelity Charitables, much less all the other billions of dollars that are in donor advised funds, you'll know that your nonprofit can get grants and can get money from them. It is an alternative to a private foundation, which has way more stipulations and requirements. It entitles the donor to a tax deduction, funds grow tax-free, grants made tax-free. So, as Bruce mentioned in one of the stories, sometimes a donor has a taxable event and they want to avoid tax, but they don't really know exactly what nonprofit they want to give it to. So they can park the money in a donor advised fund so that they can take that tax deduction, let the money sit and grow interest, and then they can grant it out as they see fit over their lifetime and into their children's lifetime. The donor can make periodic grants to other nonprofits, as we've been talking about, of any size, any time. The donor advised fund advantages to the financial advisor. Here's why the financial advisor loves a donor advised fund. The direction of the charitable account can include or be passed to others, say from the initial donor to the next generation. So we've talked about that, right? John and Mary have 40 years worth of real estate, and they liquidate it and put it in a donor advised fund, and now it can be left to the next generation. Really simple, and the financial advisor maintains that client base, and they can often earn fees for managing the investment side. So contributing real estate to a donor advised fund converts that hard asset that the financial advisor can't get paid on into assets under management on which they can earn fees. So here are some of the popular donor advised funds. We actually have a donor advised fund of sorts on with us today if they want to put their information in the chat. John or Wanda, if you guys want to put that in the chat. So you'll notice these different names. You'll hear them in different case studies. I would say about half of the transactions that our favorite specialized nonprofit, Realty Gift Fund, does are through Fidelity Charitables. They've had a relationship with them for many years. Last I heard, they've actually got 3 deals right now in the pipeline with Vanguard, including a hotel in Florida. So these are American Endowment Foundation. I've got an interview with one of their folks. They manage about $4 billion in donor advised funds. And here's the thing. These donor advised funds don't want to take their own real estate. Even they leverage our team. They don't want to do them. We are helping all nonprofits know what donor advised funds have known for a long time, that gifts of real estate anywhere in the country of any size are possible, and you don't have to handle them on your own. Example, here's a beautiful gift that happened in May of this year. Now, see, once again, this is not dog property that people can't get rid of. It's not a gas station out Route 66 with tumbleweeds rolling through the driveway. Friends, these are people who want to be of charitable intent and get a tax deduction. This is the kind of real estate that gets donated. I'm going to roll right into the next part, and then we're going to take a break and answer any questions. Section 5, let's talk about what qualifies. This is a pretty quick section. We're going to get into the weeds a little bit with the comparison of a traditional sale versus a donation. So what does qualify? Well, in a really simple 3-part answer, no timeshares. It needs to have equity. It's got to be marketable, meaning it's got to be something that someone would buy. And if you really think it through, we've got a 501c3 that is willing to take title, pay off mortgages, give cash, and even if it's free and clear, they're still taking on the responsibility of paying taxes and insurance and upkeep, etc. So when you really think it through, why would anyone take real estate that has no equity, because it's the equity that goes to the nonprofit, and why would anyone take a donation that won't sell? So it's really kind of common sense if you think about it. But let's give you some examples just to get those juices flowing. Can be any kind of residential. Yes, primary homes. A lot of what we've already seen were primary homes. Secondary homes, like Linda had that cabin in the Poconos. Investment property, like that property that was donated to the Martin Luther King group. Commercial could be restaurants, strip malls, office buildings, any kind of commercial. There is a hospital in Miami that a guy owns, and he is getting so much of a tax benefit by holding an empty hospital that he doesn't want to sell it or donate it because of the tax benefits. And I always think about that, because people will say, well, why would somebody donate it when they know they're not going to get all the proceeds? Like, we don't know what people's situation are. This guy's sitting on an empty hospital because it's a better tax benefit for him. Anywho, land, raw, ranches, any kind of raw land, no timeshares, can't be a timeshare. What qualifies? They need to have owned it for a year. That gets back to capital gains tax. Marketability, it needs to be something that will sell. Don't want to take title to something that's just going to sit around and cost money. Now, a property right this red hot minute could be something that's not marketable because it needs a kitchen or a roof or a parking lot paved or what have you. And maybe the current owner won't put money into it, but maybe when they find out that they can get the tax deduction of the appraised value, maybe they would donate it. Maybe our specialized nonprofit will put $100,000 of work into it to make it marketable. So marketability can change with ownership. Minimum equity of $250. We actually have a couple of resources that would take a property that has less equity than that. But overall, that's what we're looking for. Now, keep in mind that the average donation was $550,000 and now is $600,000. And actually, by the end of this year, 32 donations, $32 million to the nonprofit world, average of $1 million per donation. So the minimum isn't as much of a problem as you might think. So minimum equity looking for 250,000, average 600,000. Maximum can be any size building anywhere. So what are the documents that are required? Net gift estimate is the form. So when the donor comes to the table, everybody wants to know the process. Here's the process. We're going to go through it again in just a minute. Donor comes to the table, says, I've got this property. What are my tax benefits? What are my options? How does this work? We introduce them to the specialized nonprofit. Specialized nonprofit creates 2 net sheets. Here's what it looks like to do a traditional sale and pay your taxes. Here's what it would look like if you donated it. When they say, yes, this is a good idea, that net gift estimate continues throughout the process and will change and shift as real estate transactions typically do. That it might say, hey, it doesn't need a roof, and then the next thing you know, oh, it does need a $50,000 roof. So that's all part of the net gift estimate. Now, whether it's a donation agreement or a bargain sale agreement depends on, is there any money that exchanges hands? That's as simple as you can make it. Donation agreement means the whole thing 100% is donated, period. Bargain sale means that there were mortgages paid off or cash given, any money that has exchanged hands. Donation disclosure agreement is just like any other disclosure agreement that talks about the property and has a legitimate appraiser and all that kind of fun stuff. There are 2 documents to the IRS. Remember, do what you do best, refer the rest. Do what you do best, refer the rest. If you're a realtor, go list that property and sell it. If you're a tax person, do what you do best. In other words, we don't need to be the experts with what the IRS gets. We just want to give you an overview so that you see all the stuff in the background that you don't have to deal with. So the IRS Form 8283 is signed by 3 parties. This is the document that goes to the IRS that gives the donor their tax deduction. So it is signed by the appraiser, it is signed by the donor, and it is signed by the nonprofit that accepted the gift, in our case, the specialized nonprofit. And when that goes to the government, so our example of the condo, that's $1 million appraisal, right? $200,000 mortgage, $200,000 going to the donor. That's all on this form, and it goes to the IRS. Now, when the property sells, there's a second form. It's kind of a check and balance so that the IRS can say, okay, you said it was worth $1 million. Tell us how much you actually sold it for. So the specialized nonprofit, when the property sells, will send them this document that might say, oh, it sold for $952,048. So it's a check and balance. And we don't have to deal with it. We don't have to deal with it. We have nothing to do with this. It's what they do, which is why they keep 2%, and which is why so many nonprofits who say they take real estate stop dealing with it when they realize somebody else will do all this for a lousy 2%. So listing agreement, purchase and sales agreement, whatever's in your state. You're in Utah, you're in Florida, you're in Texas. This is kind of like REO property or relocation, from the perspective that instead of it being John and Mary Smith, now it's Realty Gift Fund that is signing the listing agreement. So we hear this question a lot. How do we know that our nonprofit will receive the proceeds? People are so paranoid. People are so looking for what's the catch here. Friends, this is a real estate transaction, just like the other millions that happen every year. The nonprofit is designated in the documentation. This document has all the details about how much equity proceeds are expected and what nonprofits will be receiving what amounts and percentages. It's all right there in the agreement between the donor and the specialized nonprofit. It says right in clause 18, 10% going to the Boys and Girls Club, 20% going to this church. This much is going to Realty Gift Fund for handling the transaction. It's all there. Okay, here's the fun part of sharing side-by-side example, traditional sale versus donation. Now, notice that we are going to have a depreciation schedule. you got to have some kind of tax basis to do your numbers on, because it's all just, airy-fairy unless you have numbers. So in this scenario of this $4.5 million property, this is what this donor's depreciation schedule is that we are going by, side by side. Now, keep in mind, disclosure, disclaimer, I am not an accountant. I am not a CPA. I am not an attorney. I'm not even smart enough to be able to explain how this document works. What I'm giving you is a bird's eye view of why a donor benefits. And you really need to have CPAs, attorneys, financial advisors help with this type of stuff. You do not have to do it on your own. Do what you do best. Having said that, let me show you how a layperson would try to explain this. So first and foremost, right off the bat, the depreciation recapture tax and the capital gains tax on the left is almost $900,000 to the government. On the right, no $900,000 to the government. So right immediately, the nonprofit world is getting almost $1 million more instead of the government. That's one of the reasons. We have people that make donations that say they want to stick it to the government. So there's one reason right there. Okay. So now let's talk about the cash benefit. So on the left-hand side, the person paid $900,000 in taxes to the government. And so now they can only write off the $3.3 million. On the right-hand side, remember, they're writing off the appraised value. This is a full-blown donation. So the appraised value of $4.5 million is what they're writing off. $3.3 million, $4.5 million as a write-off. And so therefore, there are more taxes that are flat out saved that the donor is not sending to the government when it comes to their adjusted gross income. So the total cash benefit on the left-hand side is $4.8 million. On the right-hand side is $6.2 million. There is a 29% what we call charitable leverage. The same property that was $4.5 million is now has a value, a leveraged charitable leverage of $6.2 million because of how much less the donor is having to pay to the government and how much more of a cash benefit everyone is receiving. The nonprofit world is receiving $900,000 more, and the donor is receiving more of a write-off of their adjusted gross income. That is the extent of how I can explain it, but it makes sense when you see it side by side. So instead of asking if you have any questions, I will just simply say you can pick this apart with your CPA at your own leisure. This is what the property evaluation form looks like. Basic information that any realtor would ask any property owner that is wanting to list their property. But the first question is, what is the donor's unique goal? Remember how we said 80% of people who do it our way are altruistic and doing it for the right reasons? Here's how we know that. Because we're asking them, what are your intentions? People will ask us how this compares to a 1031 tax exchange. They are avoiding capital gains tax. That is the end of the comparison. Because when someone donates real estate, there needs to be some level of philanthropic intention because they are giving a big chunk of it to the nonprofit world. So the donor's unique goals. The second part is all the information about the property. So you could put on your nonprofit's website a donate real estate button that goes to a form like this. Of course, we have verbiage to explain what donations of real estate is and what a bargain sale looks like, et cetera, et cetera. But you could also have a form like this on your website. This is the roadmap. And I'm going to go through this real quick and then we're going to take a break. I was asked to explain in a nutshell, in 2 minutes or less, how this thing works. And so the roadmap was created. I'm going to go through it and explain it and then go through it one more time to show you how easy it is to explain how this works. So number one, we have a property that's been donated. Where the property came from, why they donated it, how much went to the nonprofit world, those are all different questions. Right now, we've got a property, and what we need to know is 80% of the time, it's donated because they love veterans, they want to stop human trafficking, they want to save the puppies. They do it because they want to do it. 20% of the time, it's a good business decision. So, property is at the table. Go to number two, specialized nonprofit takes title, which is why the nonprofits that you love have no risk and no money out of pocket. They take title, they assume the risk, they generate the IRS documents, they have possession of the property. Slide down to number three, hot potato, got to get rid of it. They list it with a charitable real estate specialist. When it is listed, just like any other real estate that's ever been listed before, now, when it is liquidated, we slide to number four. Money is granted to the nonprofit world. In this case, Michael DeShavi, one of his nonprofits he loves, God's Love, We Deliver. They get a check. And then we add number five because we're all about cause marketing campaigns. Marketing your business with the cause in mind, promoting and partnering and letting people know that this is happening. So down at number five, what we're saying is, let's let the media know. Let's do a press release. God's Love, We Deliver just received a check for $400,000. And when we promote it, what happens is people see it in the news. People see the for sale sign outside that says donate real estate. You choose the charity, we'll do the rest. $400,000 is going to God's Love, We Deliver. When that promotion is happening, number one happens. People see it and they want to donate real estate. Property comes to the table. Number two, it's donated to Realty Gift Fund because that's where all the risk is and they take on the risk and responsibility. Now that they own a piece of real estate, number three, first thing to do is list it and liquidate it. So we can give 98% down at number four to the nonprofit that the donor wants to have it. And because we're all playing together and because we all want this to happen over and over again, and because we want the businesses to make money while the nonprofits are making a difference, we do number five. And we have emails and social media and Facebook Lives so that number one happens again. Now, when you're part of the Charitable Real Estate Champions package, we go through this. We teach you how to do this, how to explain it, how to keep it simple, how to not say too much. It's really that simple, friends. That's how it works. And why nonprofits and realtors and financial advisors and all these people want to become champions? Because we're the only game in town. We're the only ones. We're the only ones that are teaching this, that are teaching how to leverage real estate for real change, how to find the real estate donations, how to handle the real estate donations, how to position, partner, and promote to handle more real estate donations. We have the only national database, and this is the map I was talking about earlier. So, updated map coming January 1. This map was started for realtors in mind. And so we have more realtors than anybody else, but little by little, we have added a ton of nonprofits. So you'll see on the left how you have the legend with the different colors. So as you hover over any of these states, you'll see who's a realtor, who's a financial advisor, who's a nonprofit, who will be able to partner, position, and promote with you and for you on a cause marketing campaign. So this is outdated image. Next month, there will be an updated image with the new map that is tied into Google so that you can really scale in. But if you don't see your state, congratulations, you can be the first. You'll always be the first. And if you do see your state, congratulations. Somebody's already breaking ground there. People that you can position and partner with. Friends, there are 2 million realtors in this country. Do not worry about competition. We need to educate and let people know that this is possible so that you can list that many more properties. So this is the database that is part of being a charitable real estate specialist. So on that note, I am going to stop sharing and see if anybody has a question or two while I make sure that I'm in the right place. Anybody have a question right now?
Cami, I'm looking at the map and I noticed there's a territory into Canada, which is great, breaking in the ground there. Can you tell us a little bit about this application internationally, other countries? You know, I imagine it takes a little bit more understanding for the other professionals to develop relationships and do tax codes in other countries, but I see that as some great possibilities there too.
Sure. So we have one lady in Canada who was visionary enough to say, you know, our country doesn't apply a tax benefit for our citizens that donate real estate, but there is a bill going up in front of the government to see about doing that. So she became a charitable real estate champion, knowing that 80% of people who donate do it for the right reasons anyway, besides the tax benefits. I don't know what the tax benefits are in other countries, but here's what we do know. People who own real estate in other countries, if they have the tax consequences in the United States, let's say, for example, someone owns a condo in Paris, and if they sell it and there's capital gains, they're going to be paying taxes in the United States based on the sale of that property in another country, then this works for them. We have a lot of people in the United States that sit on boards of nonprofits in other countries, et cetera, et cetera. So the real agents of change can help in other countries with the mindset that 87% of the marketplace, no matter where you are, wants to do business with people that are on purpose and doing the right thing and being socially responsible. We can't say what the tax benefits are in those countries, but there is always the social responsibility application of it, if that helps. But what we also know is there is more than enough going on right here in this country. And so often, there are nonprofits that are US based that are part of international nonprofits, so that when real estate is donated, that money can be granted overseas to help other nonprofits. I don't know if that helped or confused you.
No, that's perfect. That's actually, I don't know that I ever actually realized capital gains exposure on the sale of a foreign asset by a US citizen. That could be interesting. Yeah.
And once again, I that's all I know about it. The beauty of watching me stumble over my words in this goes to show, do what you do best and refer the rest. We are, Bill, adding relationships. So for example, you know, we've got Jim Wooten, who teaches real estate gifting the hard way. And he's actually going to be doing some modules for us coming up in the Community Foundations gathering. We have a woman that can help nonprofits get the Google grant money. Nonprofits can get $10,000 a month in Google budget advertising for free if they apply for it. So we're bringing in somebody like that that's an expert in that. We have we are wanting to create a relationship with financial advisors nationwide that can partner with all you guys out in the marketplace to answer more deeper questions about charitable remainder trust and all that. So yeah. So anybody else have a question about anything? All right, it is 1:35. let's take a 5-minute break, go get refreshed, do a little bio break. We will come back right at 1:41 Eastern time. See you guys in 5 minutes. a specialist and a champion. And we're also going to talk about the Community Foundation collaboration. Some of you have already been personally invited to be a part of that. So you'll be able to hear what is required and what needs to happen for that, because that is a big, big deal. So let me share screen. All right, section 6, let's talk about what is the difference between a specialist or a champion. So Dr. Russell James has become a good friend of the Real Agents of Change. He has been teaching planned giving for many years. He teaches financial advisors, etc. And he says in our book, I'm a numbers guy who teaches law, tax law, and publishes research in economic journals. My research analyzes massive data sets covering hundreds of thousands of people and charities. The numbers are clear. Transformational philanthropy comes from major assets like real estate, but numbers aren't the problem. The problem is action. People can understand the idea and they can nod their heads at the numbers, but then nothing. They don't act. The disease is inertia and fear, and the cure, you're reading it right now. Now, of course, that's for our book, but the book is the playbook, if you will, for what the Real Agents of Change do. And I love that he says that the disease is inertia and fear. I couldn't get away with that, but he gets away with all kinds of fun stuff. I really highly recommend that you reach out to him on LinkedIn. Let him know that you learned about him from the Real Agents of Change, and he will send you about 100 videos that are fabulous, fascinating, and will help you in a lot of different assets. So specialist versus champion, the biggest difference is, friends, a specialist, I think about like even a doctor specialist, like a foot specialist or a heart specialist. Specialists know more than their peers. They have a specialty and they got knowledge. They know more. Champions are people that take action, that take a stand for others. When you look up the definition, a champion is someone who does something. And so that's really the biggest difference. You've just learned all you need to know about what is charitable gifting of real estate, but we want to help you put it into action. So, for example, charitable real estate specialist. Here's what specialist includes. Charitable Real Estate Masterclass. Now, you just sat through that, but we also will provide to you the recorded version. We'll provide this specific recording. We're going to put it in. We have other versions of it, but you have the recording, so you can always go back and review. You get access to this online version. And as we continue to upgrade and change and enhance the masterclass, you'll always have access to that. So it includes the masterclass. It also includes getting certified. So now that you've taken the class, we've got a 50-question test that everybody passes. You have to get at least 85% to pass. And this gives you the certificate, and it gives you the designation of CCRES, and it gets you featured on that database that is ever growing. And our goal is to get 1,000 people on the map as soon as possible. We've got about 100 on there right now, so we're looking to get 1,000. And the way that we're going to get 1,000 is that the charitable real estate specialist has been $400. There are people on here right now who've been to the masterclass numerous times, and they made an investment of $400 to become a specialist. But we're partnering with nonprofits and other companies all around the country that believe so much in what we're doing that we can actually offer this for $97 beyond living. So you guys saw Patrick speak earlier about the shared health sharing. Beyond Living also has a real estate investment program, and they are doing shared housing to help people that are homeless to get back into housing, but they're taking it another step further, and they're actually teaching vocation. So anyone that stays in one of their shared housing has to also learn skills in funnel building or customer solutions or doing outside sales. In other words, this nonprofit is so involved in real estate, and it's actually run by a very good friend of mine, Keith Eichley, who has said, Cammie, Beyond Living wants to sponsor, wants to give scholarship to people to get certified, because we need more specialists out there bringing the message to the world. So they are part of the sponsorship that gives you the ability to become a charitable real estate specialist for 99 bucks. And here's where you go to do that. You go to therock.com/Beyond Living. You can get a free PDF of the book there. You can pay the $97 and become a specialist. And that's fabulous, and that's great. And that is the first thing that everyone has to do to move forward with the Rock in anything. It is the prerequisite. It is the basis. If you're not certified and you're not on the map, we can't do anything else with you, because that is the foundation. So you need to do that first. But then, now that we've talked about that first key, right? Key number one, learning, being a specialist, knowing more than anyone else in your industry. Now, if you want to step into lead generation and really understanding the listing and liquidating and the leverage, and leaving a legacy, if you really want to do something with this knowledge, then we invite you to be a champion. And here's what that looks like. Position, partner, promote. As I mentioned, Jim Wooten is one of our dear friends now. He's going to be doing some trainings in the Rock to teach you guys how he's been doing it for 25 years. But when he learned what we are doing, removing all the risk for all these nonprofits, man, he's going back to 200-300 churches that he's helped in the last 25 years so that they can simply ask their donors, hey, do you have real estate you want to donate? So position, partnering, promoting is all of what we're about here at the Real Agents of Change. So the upgrade to the champion package, I'm just going to show you some different names of some of the trainings that we are providing. We are teaching about the diamonds in your backyard, warm introduction versus cold marketing, which is a huge part of what we're doing with the Community Foundation collaboration. We're teaching how to set intention, pay attention, create retention, meaning what do you do? How do you talk to people about this? We are helping to start conversations about this. So Dr. James came up with the 4 S's: story, 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 stop talking. We're going to teach you how to tell the story. Here's a simple story. Hey, Bill, I sat in on a class today that taught me that nonprofits like yours are getting funded tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, and I want to help your nonprofit get that funding. In other words, telling a story about what you've learned as opposed to getting, down in the weeds with all the details and percentages, etc. So these are just some fun names of different trainings that are provided in the Champion portal. The seed analogy, friends, we're teaching you how to plant seeds. Don't look for leads, plant seeds. We're going to teach you how to, this is what I was getting to, top 10 partners. So depending on what you are wanting to focus on, I actually have a friend on here, Angeline Hart, been a friend of mine for a dozen years. She's been a personal coach for me. She's helped me with lots of relationships, and she's in Utah. So, if she wanted to help her church out there, we can teach her how to find top 10 real estate groupie partners like title companies, mortgage companies, home inspectors, title insurance, et cetera, et cetera. But we can also teach her how to find top 10 in the church realm, finding the different people that would actually benefit from being a part of this collaboration. And Angeline is actually a complimentary champion. So Angeline, you're going to get access to all this very shortly. Where to find the property donors. Friends, let us help you find these properties that are being donated. Find the donors. The donors are in the donor list. They're in your social media, but you need to know how to talk to them. Let us teach you how to do a Charitable Real Estate 101 presentation. If you go to therock.com/101, you'll see 4 presentations, one for nonprofits, one for realtors, one for donors, and one that's specifically about social responsibility. If you so choose to be the face of this in your community, you go do the presentations. I'm happy to teach you how to do it. I don't need to be the presenter and everything. I want to teach you how to bring this to your community. We'll teach you how to answer the top 10 questions. Please let us teach you how to give a warm introduction versus a cold referral. Everybody says they know how to do that, but then they don't. They mess that up. So we can teach you how to leverage this as a recruiting tool, whether you're building a team in real estate, whether you're building a network marketing business, whether you're looking for volunteers for your nonprofit. Recruiting people from this conversation is a whole new game. We got this thing called the 7 Ps from purpose to payoff. And I'm just going to get all these on the screen real quick. This is a program that I was teaching a couple of years ago before we even got the champion package and all this stuff put together. $597 for people to come for one Saturday and learn the 7 Ps. This is so important. When people ask me, Cammie, how do I talk to financial advisors? How do I go talk to that nonprofit? How do I talk to a donor about this? I take them through the 7 Ps, and it is transformational. So you'll get the videos about that. Champion resources, the marketing and social media. You get access to different marketing templates, including 60 social media posts for Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. Here is what some of that looks like. We have the only expert in the world whose expertise is creating this charitable real estate focused marketing. Nobody else does this but Danielle Cummings, and she is the best at it. So we've got email templates, yard signs. Imagine having this sign next to your for sale sign, and you've got a house and a neighborhood of 500 houses, and you've got your traditional EXP or REMAX or whoever for sale sign, and right next to it, it says, donated real estate. You choose the charity. We'll do the rest. 100% of the proceeds from this property go to helping Habitat for Humanity, or the name of your church, or the logo of your nonprofit. And imagine there is a van that pulls up and it's got the big satellite on it because it is your local TV station. And the local anchor person has their microphone out and they're interviewing you next to your sign. Tell us, Tamisa Leiden, how is it that $852,000 in proceeds from this property is going to feed people right here in Arizona? And as you're being interviewed, all those 500 people in that neighborhood that are driving by and seeing what's happening, all those tens of thousands of people that are seeing you live on TV, friends, we're not suggesting all those people are just going to start throwing real estate into the pool of donated real estate. But here's what we know. 87% of them will choose you over the competition because you're doing something good for the community. This is the biggest, baddest, boldest, badassest social relationship, social responsibility, cause marketing campaign ever created. And here's some of the resources to make that happen for you. We've got scripts, live Zooms that I do every Thursday to do role play, Q&A, teach you how to do presentations. These are some of the Zooms that we've had that people have sat in on. And it's $97 a month. Now what? Now what? Who can't do that for $97 a month? No contract, cancel anytime, to have access to all that. And it's so interesting. Since we've created this way of explaining it, here's what 100% of the people have done. $997 for the year, because not only do you get 2 months free this way, but you get customized bonus stuff. So therock.com. Alan, if you can put in the chat, therock.com/Cami Baker. You can go there and get a copy of my book for free. therock.com/Jim Wooten. You can go there and get a copy of his book for free. therock.com/ let's see. I don't know if Tamisa Leiden or if it's T Leiden, but anywho, these are the landing pages that you can get for free as a bonus when you do the champion package all up front for the $9.97 for the year. It includes an updated bio. Remember that roadmap I showed you that had Michael DeShavi and God's Love We Deliver? We'll create 2 versions of a roadmap for you for free as part of the bonus. You also will get these different marketing pieces to help promote your interview with me. We're going to do an interview if you so choose, and we'll create these marketing pieces around it for free. You also get one of these Zoom backgrounds, just like mine, just like the one that you see that Alan uses and different people, Barbara Petrilla. A lot of people are using our Zoom backgrounds. You pick one of these and we'll make it personalized for you. You also get an autographed copy of the book, a good old-fashioned handheld copy that I sign and pop in the mail for you is a bonus when you do the $9.97, and also a one-on-one 30-minute session with me to start talking about how can you implement this in your business development. Also, the cause marketing campaign. Long before I learned about charitable gifting of real estate, as you saw in all those flyers that I was showing earlier, been teaching marketing your business with a cause in mind for many years. And so this is how we used to teach it before we had gifts of real estate. So I'll provide this to you. Now, in this program, we used to talk about how to pick a nonprofit and how to find an event space for free and all that stuff. But the reason this is important now, the basics of communication, who to talk to, what to say, how to say it, body language, tonality, all of that is universal and will always be the same. So we'll give you this for free as well. Now, remember, it is the $9.97 for the year that gets you all those bonus pieces. All you have to do is go to, let me see if I can, I'll come up here and I'll type it in for you. If you go to therock.com store. So when you go to the store, now remember, in the store, the specialist shows up for $400 because that's what it has been being. The scholarship is for people who've come on and are learning about Beyond Living and Silveris and some of our other partners. So the Masterclass is $47 if you buy the recorded version standalone, but you don't want that. You're going to get that for free as the specialist. But instead of clicking on the specialist, if you go here, it's $400. You don't want that. You want to go to therock.com/Beyond Living to pay the $97 to become a specialist. And then you come here so that you can go to the champion. And when you go to the champion and click on learn more and come on down here and give me the win. This is where you can choose the $97 a month, no contract, or the $9.97 plan to get all of the bonus stuff as a bonus for free. Now, I want to share with you about the community foundation stuff. The Community Foundation Collaboration, which is an initiative of the Real Agents of Change. The outline for this, we are putting together a completely separate program. This is for the first 30 people. We already have 12 just from our past rock stars. We are putting together specific press release, the emails that will go to the community foundation, etc. We've got a couple of postcard templates that look like this. We have got webpage content, scripts. 2 of the yard signs are going to go in the mail to you. 2 autographed copies of the book because you need one, and then you need to give one to the Community Foundation, training modules around what we're doing. See, these are warm introductions. As a matter of fact, hold on for a second. I've got some other slides I want to show you that I breezed by a little bit earlier. So, the Community Foundation. Here's what's important about this. Let's talk about what a community foundation is and what the Amelia Group is. A community foundation is kind of like a local donor advised fund from the perspective that people that put their money in it can then advise it out and grant the money to different folks. The community foundation knows that community, whether it's California or San Diego or Tampa or the Black Philanthropic Foundation that is in the Carolinas Community Foundation or the Jewish Community Foundation. In other words, these are foundations that know their community, whatever that means to them. It could be, a specific ethnicity, it could be a specific state or a specific town, etc. So the community foundations have some that are the elite. The Amelia Group is a group that you can't Google. They don't have a logo. They don't have a website. They are the top 50 VPs of community foundations that manage 500 million or more in assets. And the reason that this is important is because they are all almost certain to have accepted gifts of real estate, meaning you don't get to 500 million and more in managed assets without taking non-cash assets, and in a lot of cases, real estate. So these people, we've met one. His name is Rick Peck, and he is a good friend of The Rock. And he is on the nonprofit side running a community foundation, part of the Amelia Group. His nonprofit manages $1 billion in assets. And he's been trying to find realtors who understood gifts of real estate to help him and his nonprofit. Well, along comes Cammie Baker with all these realtors who've been trying to find nonprofits who want to talk about gifts of real estate. So I have an interview with Rick Peck that is in our Facebook group. He's the chocolate, I'm the peanut butter. We come together and we are making magic by making these introductions to you. We are partnering with them. He is making the warm introduction to these Amelia Group folks. This is not about cold calling them. If you cold call them, you've missed the point and you won't be in the program. That's not how this works. This is a warm introduction. 87% of your marketplace wants to do business with businesses that are supporting the community. So we're creating these collaborations with the Amelia Group because each one of them has hundreds and some cases thousands of nonprofits in that community, in your marketplace, in Arizona, New Hampshire, Florida, etc., that you can get introduced to. The impact and the influence. Let me give you a quick little story. Patrick Keeler is the realtor in New Hampshire that is working with Rick Peck. We were having a strategy call last night because we're putting together this program to help you guys to find the first 30 that we're going to place all over the country. He said, Cammie, last year when I learned about the Real Agents of Change and I reached out to nonprofits, I had a ho-hum kind of reception. He said, now that I'm reaching out to them and telling them, I know Rick Peck. I'm working with Rick Peck at the Community Foundation. These nonprofits know Rick. They are impressed. There is now influence in how this is all coming together, these warm introductions. And this is what we're creating for you and your marketplace so that you can position and partner and promote so that these resources and relationships are all coming together. So now, having said that, stay with me. Now, remember, I mentioned to you that it's $9.97 for the year to become a champion. So the prerequisite to be a part of the Community Foundation collaboration, you have to be a specialist, you have to be a champion. And we talked about all the bonuses that come with that. Sorry, I went to the wrong slide. We talked about the outline, how we're putting together all this extra marketing material for the Community Foundation people. We are customizing all of this stuff for you. So we're going to customize some Zoom banners, some email invites to some 101 presentations. We're customizing. Remember how I said we're going to help you learn how to do a 101 presentation for nonprofits, 101 presentation for donors, and for financial advisors. We're going to do some custom first and last pages for that. This is an ad that we're going to be putting out soon, looking for realtors that haven't been in yet so that they understand what this looks like. So specialist is $97. Champion upgrade is $9.97. And to be a part of the Community Foundation collaboration, we got to pay for all this new marketing that is going to be customized for you. And you have to qualify for this. So number one, you need to be a full-time realtor. I've got a lot of people on here right now that are nonprofits, fundraisers, radio show hosts, etc. This Community Foundation collaboration is for realtors only in the beginning. For the first 90-day segment, this beta test of it, this is for realtors only, but stay tuned, the rest of you, because we're laying the foundation, we're laying the bricks so that you can come along for the ride. So first of all, to qualify, you got to be a full-time realtor. You need to be ready, willing, and able to make warm introductions to the Community Foundation via your center of influence. In other words, you can't just show up and wait for them to introduce you to people. We're going to teach you who you need to be introducing to them and how to do it. We're going to be providing emails and social media and scripts, etc. Number three, you need to be available to attend 2 live Zoom trainings with us. January 21st and January 28th from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern is when we're going to do live Zooms to get you prepared for this. Really hunker down and learn the 6 different types of funds that community foundations have. We're going to introduce you to Jim Wooten so he can teach you how to have conversations about the way that he does gifts of real estate. In other words, there's a lot of training before you meet these folks, and it's a 90-day program. So you need to be able to commit to once a week. And look, I get it. Not every week you can come. Sometimes you'll be sick. Sometimes you got that $10 million listing, but you want to be committed to come and give us feedback and strategize and say, hey, Cammie, I just met with my community foundation last week and they said this, this, and this. What do we do next? How do we promote this? And on these once a week trainings, check it out. We're going to have Dr. Russell James come live. We're going to have Rick Peck coming. He has opened my eyes to how this works and why this is how we're all going to get in front of tens of thousands of nonprofits who are wanting to do something. We're going to have Dan Klatt, the church guy, come in and teach us how to evaluate churches. We're going to have Les Winston, who some of his representatives are on here right now, and I haven't even told him about it yet, but he's going to teach how people can actually make money from the pooled income that comes from these. So in other words, the once a week that we do for 90 days isn't just going to be me rambling on. It's going to be a lot of experts that are coming in to make you a charitable real estate champion. So ultimately what we're saying is, if you want to be a part of the Community Foundation collaboration, you have to qualify. Alan, if you can please put in the chat my cell phone number, my email address, and I need you, if you are wanting to be a part of this, you don't have to. You don't have to be a part of the Community Foundation collaboration. We can teach you how to be a champion. We can teach you how to go talk to your church and your clients and your financial advisors without being a part of it. We only want you to be a part of this if it's exciting to you, if you're willing to send me a paragraph that tells me why you're excited and what you would do with this honor. There is a list of the community foundations that we're talking about. There's 50 of them, but there's probably 200 in total with subcategories. So for example, in Arizona, there's Sedona and Flagstaff and Yuma and Prescott. In other words, just let me know what marketplace you're in, what state, what city, what county, and I'll cross-reference and I'll let you know if you are in one of these blessed Amelia Group areas. Now, even if you're not in the Amelia Group areas, there are 600 plus community foundations in this country, and there is one in your area guaranteed. But if they're a smaller one, they may not be as open to the conversation of charitable gifts of real estate. So what we're doing is we're starting with the Amelia Group first. We're honing our craft. We are making sure that we can answer any and all questions that a community foundation would have in this first 90 days. And then we're going to roll it out to all the other community foundations. So happy to answer any questions. I'm just going to take it off share. Questions, comments, concerns? Did I confuse you, or does it make sense?
Makes sense.
Mark, what area are you in?
Las Vegas. I met you guys through Keith and Next Gen.
Nice.
Yeah, Beyond
Nice.
Living.
Good, good, good. Are you a real estate agent?
Yes, I've been an agent about 1.5 years. Yep.
Nice.
Investor for about 7 years.
So we say that we want a seasoned 5+ year veteran as a real estate agent, but we will make exceptions if the people are tenacious and mature and see this as a benefit for them as far as the community foundation collaboration. So if that's interesting to you, let us know. Dan Klatt, the church guy, lives in Vegas, and he said there are 750 churches in Vegas that he plays with, and there are 49,000 churches on his email list nationwide. And we've just created a couple of videos that he's going to be sending out to all these churches. So friends, this is really this year, because of Solveris and our relationship with them, who are growing to 100,000 in membership over the next year, because of our relationship with the Church Guy Network and 50,000 community ministers and pastors and all that fun stuff learning about us, because of our relationship with these community foundations, this is it. This is happening, and you can be a part of it. We invite you to. Lori, I see that you're on. I hope that you're on tonight on the Solveris call at 7 p.m. I see Marissa is on. Let me give a shout out to Marissa Hughes. Marissa Hughes is with Solveris. She is one of the officers. She and I are the only 2 female officers in the 10 officers. And she knew Patrick Mazer, and she reached out to Patrick Mazer, and she's the one that brought that health sharing to our attention. And I just want to thank you, Marissa, for your vision, for your fearlessness, and for bringing Patrick Mazer back into my life. And he and Alan and I are going to do big things with this to help that company. So any questions, friends, while we're just finishing up? It's 2:15. I want to respect your time. I want to take a nap before the next event at 7 p.m. Yeah, Lori, great. You've got my number, sweetie. I think we've already texted and called. Just send me a message over there where I'll save it. Let me know what area you're in. Let me cross-reference. For those of you who have already been invited to be a part of the collaboration, you do need to have the 397 marketing package and be a part of that training. So, all right. I'm just gonna close it up for the day. Let me put one more time the link for tonight. Alan doesn't like that I never put the HTTP, but I never know how to do that right. So Solveris.com/Cami. Let's see. I have to leave, but thank you for extremely valuable information opportunity. I'll be joining. I'm in New Jersey. Good, Tony. I think Alan put my phone number in. I'm going to do it one more time anyway. Every time we do this class, every time, people send me texts afterwards to ask a question, and that's fine. If that's what you want to do, please do so. And we'll see you either at 7 o'clock tonight or tomorrow, every Wednesday at noon. If you go to therock.com/101, you can watch the 4 20-minute short mini presentations. And on that same landing page, you can click to join the Zoom at noon Eastern on Wednesdays. You can come in and get questions answered. You can bring friends to get questions answered. And if you're a specialist or a champion, at 1 p.m. on Wednesdays, you have access to Realty Gift Fund 3 times a month on their Zoom. So if you have any questions about what all is included, just let me know. And it has been our honor to serve you. See you tonight at 7 p.m.